Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
If a Republican is down and out, he thinks about how to better his situation. A Democrat wonders who is going to take care of him. If a Republican doesn't like a talk show host, he switches channels. Democrats demand that those they don't like be shut down. And if a Republican is a non-believer, he doesn't go to church. A Democrat non-believer wants any mention of God and religion silenced. How true. Good morning, everybody. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Oh, it's a Wednesday. Michael Rogers will have the weather in a few moments. Good morning. Oh, thank you very much, Kate Smith. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch, and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Great big tire sale going on. Don't you miss it. Along with some of our great advertisers, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. I got a nose that's itching. And call them, get on the route service at 734-6969. Right now, with the twinkle in her eye, she's always ready to open the microphone up and say, good morning, Gina Jameson.
Good morning, Gina Jameson.
Oh, that was really cute. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Tonight, the Boston Red Sox will win the World Series.
I don't watch the World Series.
Why?
I never liked baseball.
You're working on my program and you don't like baseball?
I've never liked baseball. It's like watching golf.
Oh, please.
Yes.
There's so much going on all the time. There is like a chess match going on. How dare you? Blasphemy.
Blasphemy. No, seriously, I've never really been a baseball fan. My son likes to watch baseball. Me, however, no. I watch football. I require action-packed sports, and baseball is just too slow-moving.
Oh, my goodness. I tell you what, I feel
honestly,
like...
I hate chess.
So do I. I can't stand it. I don't even like to play checkers, to be honest with you.
No,
some little snot-nosed 5-year-old comes over and whips up on a 66-year-old playing checkers and goes, yeah.
Yeah, that would be my son.
Yeah, I don't like that. Okay.
However, poker, now that's my game.
Oh, you see, we're not that different.
No, see,
I think we ought to organize a great big poker party.
Sure.
And boy, would the government be there in a hurry if they found out we were playing with pennies.
They're the only thing that's worth something because they're still made out of metal.
Yeah, well, the way the government's going this morning with their testifying of Kathleen Sebelius, I mean, that's a joke and everybody's laughing.
Oh, man, we're going to be talking about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we are. Hey, who's going to do the pledge this morning?
Well, Michael Rogers called in, and I said, guess what, Michael? And he's like, I'm on for the pledge and for the weather. And I'm like, you got it, babe. So we've got Michael Rogers.
Well, he does a great, phenomenal job when he's not standing there trying to fix film in the camera. Good morning, Michael, with the pledge, please.
Good morning, everybody. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A bad day in the neighborhood, got a few clouds, cooler temperatures on the backside of a cold front. Well, we didn't get anything out of it, so the cooler air and the sun and the clouds will be with us today, 59 for the high. Cooler night, though. It's 28 this morning. You might see 29 by tomorrow morning as you start your day. And then we'll continue with filling clouds all the way through the weekend with our weather team on the backside of this cold front. It will be cool. We'll struggle to get to maybe up to 59. Other than that, enjoy the day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There's my man, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Calls will be welcome and appreciated also. And while I'm waiting for our first call, and we're going to talk about our stories here in just a moment, I want to remind you about Rain for Rent, 134 South, 600 West, Highway 27 in Paul. Number 2, write down and remember 438-5065. They've got all the Rinky pivot sales and service and the Rinky rebates for this fall. Yes, and the professional people that understand irrigation. And they understand exactly what you need and what they can help you with. Frank Jensen, Skip Hilton, Brooks West. I'm telling you, these people are really smart. You better stop in or call. Rain for Rent in Paul, 438-5065. Real quick, too, I want to remind you, old Scott Gano's galloping all over the place. Yes, he is. Fall is a busy time for him. Well, really, every time of the year is a busy time for Scott. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 150 South, 950 West of Paul, 431-8733. If you've got sprinklers that have not had the lines blown out yet for the fall, you better hurry up and give them a call. Have that taken care of. You don't want to have a whole bunch of damage next year. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 431-8733. You call Scott today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Tony.
I watched that fiasco a little bit this morning, and I finally turned it off. They're talking about subsidizing the care of the Medicare, and we're also subsidizing the welfare system. And this is all going to turn out to be a major tax increase for taxpayers.
Absolutely. Did you notice in the short time that you watched it, and I was glued to the set, I was trying to run back and forth from my office to the TV set and TV set back to the office to get things ready this morning. But did you notice how partisan it was in their questioning, especially when they had Representative Dingell from Michigan asking questions? There is a classic example of a man that's been in office too long, he's too old, and absolutely is much too partisan to ask questions to get answers to.
And that Pallone from New Jersey, this guy, he's another joke.
But the funniest one, and I have to laugh a little bit at this because it is funny. I know people are going to criticize me, but I'm making fun of this man because, honestly, he looks like a big toe with eyes, Henry Waxman of California.
Oh, yeah. This whole thing is turning into a joke. It's just a waste of time because Sebelius was already programmed before she ever went on this program.
Oh, I mean, you can't imagine the stress and the education and the notes and the questions and answers that she had to go through to get prepared for this morning. But I maintain that there's going to be some questions asked of her today, and I'm going to go through some of those questions that I want to get answers for in just a moment. But it's a joke. Nobody's laughing. Obamacare is going to hurt this economy forever.
Oh, we're going to be taxed to death, and the young people are going to be taxed to death.
Yeah, and they don't realize how bad it's going to be for them. Tony, God bless you and Mary. It's good to hear from you this morning.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Valley White Home and Ranch. I got to tell you what's going on over there. Today at Valley White Home and Ranch. Today, you go on in and you'll get a kiss. Well, you get a great big kiss. Well, not a kiss on the old cheek or the lips, but you'll get a Hershey's kiss, and it'll tell you what kind of a discount you'll get on your purchase if you go over there to Valley White today. Yes, get a great big kiss. Well, chocolate kiss. And stop over and check out all the great buys at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Oh, they've got discounts on everything today. So you stop over to Valley White, my friendly store over there with Steve and the rest of the crew, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Really, really nice people. And along with Valley White Home and Ranch, I also want to remind you Ramsey Heating and Electric, oh my goodness sakes, this is the last couple of days for hats off to farmers, and free popcorn and pop will be gone soon, but you can always get the great same service that you have at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, and by the way, with the chillier temperatures coming up, you heard Michael say lows about 29, 28, you better make sure your furnace is happy and smiling in the basement with a brand new air filter to help you through the winter. Get it done today. Call them, 678-0459, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Kathleen Sebelius is, as we speak, sitting in the hot seat this morning, testifying to Congress about Obamacare. And I watched a little bit of it. She is very roboticized as to what she's going to answer, how she's going to answer it, and what she will or will not say. She has been show prepped, let me tell you. And it's a very, very partisan issue, which is a shame. I was hoping, for what little bit I had a chance to watch it this morning, that there would be less of a partisan issue on this and more of a how can we help the citizens of the United States attitude, regardless of whether you're Republican or Democrat. And it was partisan right down the middle. It was extremely partisan. The Democrats were trying to put salve on the situation and say all is well, and the Republicans were going for the jugular. And really, on both sides of the aisle, how are we going to get this doggone thing fixed? Or is it fixable to protect the American citizens, protect people that had a health insurance policy, and they've got letters of dismissal because Obamacare has hurt that company or has destroyed that policy? How are we going to help Americans? I don't give a rip about partisan politics. I don't give a rip about Dingell in Michigan or Waxman in California or anybody else from either side of the aisle. Let's do something different back there in Congress. Let's try to get to the bottom of the problem, solve the problem, and go on. You know, questions should be, how many have signed up? We want to know how many have signed up. Well, we don't know. We're going to release that information on November 15th. That's balderdash. You know, there's another word I wanted to use, but I can't on the radio. You can find it out in the corral. But that's balderdash. We and they know exactly how many people have signed up. Don't give me this garbage about how they don't know and through the computer errors and everything. No, believe me. Greta Van Susteren said it very well last night on her program that she can be over in Dubai and have her ATM card kick out and cough up $100 and have her balance and everything, bing, just like that over in Dubai. Don't tell me this idiocy. Well, we don't know how many have signed up. That's bogus. And why did they have the problem after 3.5 years of getting ready? And don't blame the Republican Party. Put the mirror up in front of your face and say, boy, did we do a lousy job. The Democrats and the people that work for the Obama administration. It wasn't ready for prime time. And why have Americans been misled into thinking they can keep their current plan? There are so many outside forces at work on Obamacare that are being disruptive and totally destructive of private insurance plans that, no, you aren't going to be able to probably keep your private plan. It might be diminished. It might be adios in no time at all. Obama lied. I'm not going to make any salving for him. I'm going to tell it the way I feel. Obama lied, and so have his other people. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
You know, what's so amazing is I was just watching that for a minute, and Elliot Engel from New York, I think, got on there, and I mean, every day, day in and day out, these liberals get on the air and they try to logically defend this. And when it comes right down to it, there's nothing logical about any of this when it comes to fiscal responsibility and saving the country financially. What about broke don't we get here in the Democratic Party? That's not a one that you can see that could defend it
in a logically, financially way. This thing isn't going to fly because it's never going to be able financially be able to fly.
Well, let me tell you what it does.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you what it's going to do, Randy, and I think this is going to cause ripples in every part of free enterprise. I think free enterprise in this country is on the wane. If this is going to kill private insurance plans, it's going to kill private insurance companies. And that destroys free enterprise. Pretty soon we're going to see the destruction of free enterprise and capitalism in other areas of our life. And I absolutely am going to do all I can to fight this wickedness that's going on through the Democrats and the Obama administration for the destruction, disruption, and total annihilation of free enterprise. Quickly, and then I've got another call.
Well, you're right, and it's just, again, you just shake your head, and how, as a media, do you allow illogical answers to pass as something that will cut it? It's just insanity.
I agree. And by the way, thanks to you for a couple of great leads, and we're following up on those, Randy. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop. I really want to give you a testimonial here because it's a true testimonial. You've heard me say that this last summer I almost lost my truck, trailer, and horses in a severe fire. Well, we had the pickup towed into Middlecoff Body Shop, and wow, what a job they did. They strive to make your vehicle repairs undetectable, and I'm very, very high on what they did. They are the only shop in Twin Falls area that is ICAR certified, and believe me, they can do the job for you. Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop, 1243 Blue Lakes Boulevard in Twin Falls. Number to call, 736-2490. Do it. Do it today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I've got a question, and I've yet heard anybody address it or answer it or say anything about it, is when they passed the Unaffordable Care Act, and then months later they put in clauses, and then months later Obama gives these guys waivers and those guys waivers. The law isn't what they passed.
No, wait a minute. Stop right there. Stop right there.
Okay.
Now, have you been listening to my program every day religiously as you are required to do so without paying a penalty of $500?
I owe you $500.
All right. Now, I asked this question months ago when the Supreme Court looked at Obamacare in its entirety and passed on Supreme Court, passed on the legality of Obamacare. After that, then Obama made changes. Then Obama made friendly under-the-table deals. And I'm saying, and have said on this program for a long time, and have asked questions to former Congressman Tom Tancredo and former presidential candidate Tancredo and other people, if the Supreme Court passed on it in its present form and then Obama made the changes, then it should be null and void and illegal.
As I think so also.
And I'm going to be asking a doctor that is coming on the program this morning at 10:06, Dr. Larry Kawa, that has filed suit against the government and against Obamacare. I'm going to be asking him the same question because I and you want an answer. Obama changed it. He didn't go to Congress. He did it himself. And that's illegal, illicit, and the man is not a dictator.
That's how I feel. If they're going to say it's the law of the land, then my God, let's get back to the law of the land and implement it like it was passed.
Now, your question is exactly what's been burning in my mind for about 3 months. When Obama did this on his own, and I started asking questions, Tancredo had no idea that morning. I says, Tom, look, how could he change it after the Supreme Court had approved it for a yes to the American public? And he goes, I hadn't thought of that. Well, I have thought of it, and I thought of it a long time ago, and I want answers, and I'm glad you're on my bus, because we're going to drive down that road, pardon me for stuttering, and we're going to find out the answers from somebody.
Well, great minds think alike, then.
Oh, my. We're going to be the new emperors. All right. Hey, thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate it. No, I've asked that question of a lot of people, and nobody seems to come up with an answer. How could Obama, on his own, make changes, make little under-the-table deals on something that was passed by the Supreme Court, and now it's been changed in so many different directions?
Well, technically, he's not supposed to.
Gee, technically, well, then technically that thing should have been null and void.
Amen. What is he doing this with executive order and, like you said, side deals? That's not right.
Gina, I honestly don't think, and I'm going to be very emphatic about this.
Okay.
I don't think that most of our representatives from any state, whether it's Idaho or Texas or Arkansas, it doesn't make any difference, senators or congressmen, really can think past their nose. I saw this happen last night on television where a congressman was asked a question and he goes, "Oh, gee, I hadn't thought of it that way." I'm beginning to think we have put back in office a bunch of robots that have the IQ of a bicycle spoke.
I'm not gonna disagree with you on that one at all. I don't think that they're thinking of their own personal benefits.
It's called CYA.
Yes, amen.
And I'm not going to have to describe that, am I?
No.
Okay.
Please don't.
I was just checking.
There's CYD.
There's sometimes that when we say certain verbiage, we get real nervous for fear that somebody might say, "Well, would you explain that to me just a little bit?" And I'd rather not.
No, I'd rather not. Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Anyway, you have a call?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep expanding what I'm saying then, because Obama lied, and Jay Carney, oh, what a weasel. I mean, this guy, I know he's being paid to be the spokesperson at the press conferences for the President of the United States. But what a kind of a slimy, little, never-get-caught Teflon weasel. And he's walking back all the things that the president has said. There are tapes, and Gina, you can respond to this. You've seen them. You watch the news. Mm-hmm. There are tapes upon tapes upon tapes where Obama stood up since 2010 and said, if you like your coverage, you can keep your coverage. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Well, now they're walking all this back and saying, well, there were stipulations upon this and upon that. No, that's not what was said. And I can't stand people that go back and walk back statements and say, well, this should have been said and this was implied. If I say something on the radio this morning that I do not like, Democrat, Republican Dingle from Michigan, because of him being wishy-washy, you heard me say it, he's wishy-washy. I'm not going to walk it back later on.
I'm sorry, every time I hear his name I have to giggle because I'm not thinking of a person. Never mind.
I just figured out where you're headed. Okay, thank you.
Well, I guess he is what his name represents.
Yeah, no kidding. And by the way, I got an email yesterday, young lady, and you got to hear about this. This email came to me from the HHS Office of Public Affairs. And here, I want to read the first two lines to you so you can giggle real quick.
Okay.
We continue to improve the overall user experience each week on healthcare.gov so that by the end of November, the site will be functioning smoothly for the vast majority of users. As you know, one of the places we've seen a lot of consumer frustration is in their ability to successfully create an account. This issue was identified on October 1st, and we've made significant progress since then to deliver a much smoother process for Americans. We now can process nearly 17,000 account registrants per hour, or 5 per second, with an error rate of 0. That's a lie, Gina. The system's off.
Yeah, okay, so I'm getting onto the website right now. It now says that you can apply by phone, but honestly, I've tried to get on it a couple of times. I still can't get verified.
How can they lie like this to people?
I don't know. I have tried, honestly, several attempts to get online, find coverage, even create my account. It will not let
17,000 per hour or 5 per second? You got to be kidding me. You've been trying. You can't. A party of one can't even get a table at the restaurant.
I've tried. I've honestly, I am trying to do what I am mandated to do, and the government and their idiocy not going to let me do it.
I got to pay some bills.
Please do.
Don't forget Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn. Number to call, 438-8730. Grease guns with grease and all the Bubba ropes. I got to check with Jim tomorrow and see if he got in those pink Bubba ropes in honor of and commemoration of Breast Cancer Awareness Month for October. And they've got all the ability to clean your air filters and save you a whole bunch of money. And they've got a closeout on certain tools of Olympia brand tools. Everything at Travel Lube Supply, 438-8730. They deliver the goods. It's time now for the Pacific Steel and Recycling Capital Press Ag Minute, brought to you by Pacific Steel and Recycling at 320 West Main in Burley. Here's the Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
China's soaring demand for ultra-high temperature pasteurized milk offers an export opportunity for the U.S. dairy industry, and the Dairy Export Council wants to help processors capture that market. So-called UHT milk has a shelf life of 6 to 9 months and is sealed in special box-like containers. Consumption of UHT milk in China jumped from nearly 18 million pounds in 2010 to 301 million pounds this year. China's appetite for imported UHT milk could grow to an estimated 1.3 billion pounds by 2020. The U.S. produces about 2 million tons annually of UHT dairy beverages, such as coffee creamers and milk for fast food restaurants, but has only played a minor role in supplying China's booming demand for the product.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Oh, you better believe it. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley, with, of course, Adam Brower, and they'll pay $175 cash to haul away and recycle your old car. I'm not kidding. Get a hold of them today, 678-2321, 678-2321. That's, of course, Pacific Steel and Recycling. Nice people at 320 West Main in Burley.
So just so you know, I got onto healthcare.gov just now.
Yeah.
Went to apply online, picked my state of Idaho,
Yep.
and verbatim, this is what it says. The system is down at the moment. We are experiencing technical difficulties and hope to have them resolved soon. Please try again later.
Oh, I know it. And that
happened. Able to apply faster at at their call center. No,
Yeah.
What is their call center overseas?
Yeah,
Is their call center overseas?
they're going to have some little Filipino answer the phone.
Should I call?
Yeah, well, not on the program this morning, but check it out on your own, because this is absolutely incompetence. When they send me an email yesterday, and I'm not the only one. I mean, good heavens, they sent it out to probably all radio hosts, television, newspaper, etc., that says that we can now, I'm going to ask you something. When you make a definitive statement in the news, whether you're on KMBT doing a newscast or here, okay? When you make a definitive statement that says we can now process nearly 17,000 account registrants per hour or 5 per second with a 0 rate of error, is that a definitive statement of yes, you can?
That would be a definitive statement of your capabilities at that moment.
You can't even get on the website.
I can't. I just tried again.
Okay. I'm just frustrated with this.
Oh, wait. Can I just do this for a second?
Okay, go ahead.
Caution. You're listening to a conservative radio talk show. We are not responsible for liberals' hurt feelings. Sincerely, Zeb at the Ranch.
I love it. Gina put those together for me, and you may hear these periodically, and then for liberals out there, they might all of a sudden want to drive into the barrel pit or drive into a lake or whatever, the windows roll down. Please try to hold yourself back from anything that might injure yourselves.
Some of them are actually kind of funny.
Hey, by the way, I also wanted to mention, there was another attack and assault on Christmas. And it's getting worse again. New Jersey School District, we're going to be talking about this with Jeremy Tedesco next Monday on the Alliance Defending Freedom.
Okay.
But I want to give you a little heads up. A New Jersey School District said, no, there will not be any Silent Night. There will not be any Jingle Bells. There will not be any Hark the Herald Angels saying no. And it's against the Constitution. It's against the Supreme Court. It shows nothing but cowardice from so-called school administrators and school officials. And they took a poll, and it came out 79.666 or something. I'm going to round it off to 80%. 80% of American adults believe that public schools should celebrate religious holidays.
I agree.
Yeah.
Why do you think I send my son to a private school where they do sing, Jingle Bells.
Well,
of course, the Herald Angels sing.
You're going to hear it here. You're going to hear it here. And I'm telling you, I'm planning on a great big Christmas deal here on the program, and like we do every year, and you're going to run the board over there, which is unfortunate because you're going to miss out on all the big food and goodies here. And Keith Ramsey and others are going to be here singing all the very conventional and absolutely normal for that time of year Christmas carols right here on this program. And if anybody's offended, poor baby, take 2 aspirin and call your local Obamacare official the next morning. Okay.
I was going to say something, and that just kind of blew it out of the water.
Okay.
Oh, here was what I was going to say. If
All
we're going
right.
to have a big Christmas party, then there has to be a delivery to the studio.
Oh, well, I'll make sure of that. George and Donna probably will be here, and they'll bring back a scoop shovel full of goodies.
Oh, I love it.
All right. Save on Shells, 1827 Overland and Burley, 312-1525. They got all the new line of shells from ARE. Those are really nice. From cab high to the ones that you can raise up, plump, 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 up they go. And they got a great selection of used shells, too. Super great inventory. And service, I've always been impressed with the service over there at Save on Shells. And you know how much I know about it is because I bought a shell from them. I saved money. I got the best at Save on Shells. 1827 Overland Avenue in Burley. You stop in and honestly see those good folks today at Save on Shells. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, too, that Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric can save you money, where they sell warm winters and cool summers at Ramsey Heating and Electric. I got another story for you that's frustrating to me. And the United States Air Force weakened. Yep, they cowed. They weakened to the anti-religious zealots that came out of the woodwork all of a sudden. And people like Mickey Weinstein, Wine, that's a good name for him, a whiner, Mickey Weinerstein, was complaining that the end of the Air Force oath, honor oath, says, "So help me God." So help me God. And they complained. And they said they were going to cause all kinds of problems for the Air Force. Well, the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado last Friday decided to make the phrase, "So help me God," optional when cadets recite the honor oath. It's just another weakening. It's another kowtowing to anti-religious zealots that are trying to change our society, destroy our society, and diminish our society with believers in God. And that this was, and still is, I think, a religious Christian nation founded upon the Lord's principles and the Ten Commandments. Now, I'm going to stand behind that. You can rant and rave all you want to. You can call in after the program, gutless people do, and say, "I don't like that when you say God bless somebody. That offends me." Well, plan on being offended a lot more in the future, okay? Because that's the way it's going to stay. But, so help me God now has been stricken unless, being that it's optional, the cadet wants to say it himself. These anti-religious wackos are saying that the oath violates the Constitution. Now, when we think about this, and you think about when the President of the United States stands up there on his inauguration day and puts his hand on the Bible and says, "So help me God," where are the Mickey Weinersteins then? I'm just sick and tired of us kowtowing. I wish the Air Force would have said, "This is the way we do it. This is the way we're going to continue to do it. If you don't like it, there is a very slow raft to China leaving in 5 minutes." Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. If you're not saying it, "So help me God," what good is the oath? I mean, who are you saying that you're, your oath is good too.
Yeah.
So help me, Obama.
Oh, please don't go there. Please.
I know, but I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like Obama putting his hand on the Bible. It's a joke. I mean, it's like, you know, he's going through the motion, but he's not really meaning what he's saying. Same thing with our congressmen and senators.
Yeah, it's theatrics.
It's theatrics. That's all it is. Okay. I mean, it used to be, you know, not that very long ago that when you gave an oath and you said something, your word was worth something.
What about your word in court?
Exactly. What's your word in court? I mean, you know, it doesn't do you any good at that point either.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to believe in something, you know, to make it worth anything, or it's just a stupid statement.
This whole thing, I think, has been blown out of proportion. I honestly believe this, and if you don't believe in this, Kilt Man, we'll have a good arbitration here. If someone or some being with some other principle or some other belief would have gone to the Air Force and said, you know, when I take my oath, my honor oath, I am not a believer, and so therefore I will not say, and I don't want to be coerced into saying, so help me God. Okay? That would have been fine, and the whole thing would have been settled for that particular case. But to have Mickey Weinstein and these anti-religious nuts and bolts come out of the woodwork and demand that the Air Force kowtow to them, that's where I get mad, because I'm sick of people bending to suit the demands of certain people that are offended. You know, you can be offended at everything, Kilt Man, or anything. All you have to do is pick and choose. You don't live in a bubble. People can't live underneath the auspices of what their neighbor wants them to do. That would be a completely chaotic society.
Well, the thing is, look at everything right now. We are kowtowing to the few.
Absolutely.
Not the many, we're kowtowing to the few. You know, and it's time these people start realizing that, you know, it's the majority of us that are telling you what's going on, what you guys should be doing, not those few dipsticks that are out there with their heads up there. You know,
yeah, but you know, here's what happened, and I've got a lot of letters on this. The one letter came in and said, I'm not going to recite it basically off the letter because the letter's not right here on the desk. I thought it was. But one letter came in and said, I'm highly upset that you would keep referring to God bless when you say to your callers, thank you for your call, God bless, have a good day. If I wanted to hear anything about religion or God, I would turn or tune into KCIR or other Christian stations. Well, my response to that is, better do it because you need it.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I can remember years ago that because of one family, one child in my son's junior high class talked about a Christmas program, you know, big old lawsuit and everything else. You know, why are we kowtowing to one?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Go to the library and say, here, go do your math.
Yeah, I just don't understand why all of a sudden in this country, and it's not all of a sudden, it just didn't creep up on us over last night at 11:37. It's been building and brewing in this country where the majority does not anymore rule, but the minority has the squeaky wheel and they get everything in their favor. Well, I'm sorry, Kilt Man. No, I'm not sorry. I'm very proud of the fact I don't cater to minorities. I don't cater to the lesser. I cater to the majority. I cater to the way things should be. Majority rules. And if people can't accept that, that's their problem, not mine.
Well, okay. Let's put it one other way. Let's look at the money factor on this thing. We have catered to other people, other, what do you call it? Man, my brain just went blank. Other languages and stuff like that throughout the country. We have catered to them. We have spent billions and billions of dollars to cater to a different language.
Why should Obamacare, why should the expense of Obamacare, another ridiculous aspect of it, have it put together in 150 different languages at a cost to you and I?
Exactly. Exactly. Every one of those families out there has somebody that they know, somebody in their family that knows the English language, that can interpret this stuff. There is no reason why we are spending our money to cater to the few.
You come here I don't care if you come from outer Slobovia, or if you come here from Taiwan, or if you come here from Mexico. You adhere to our principles, our country, our language, and it is an English-speaking language and an English-speaking nation. I am sick and tired of catering and saying, well, we got to provide Obamacare information in 150 languages. Why?
Exactly. Why?
Kilt Man, I appreciate you as always. Thanks for your call, buddy. God bless. Have a good day. Caller number 2, I'm going to be with you right after I have a quick weather update with MichaelRogersWeather.com. I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers of MichaelRogersWeather.com. Beauty of our day is a lot of sun, very little clouds. I'm not going to really shut it down, so it's going to be cooler today. Temperatures, you might struggle to get to the upper 50s. And the overnight low, that's going to be cold. You can be down to freezing, possibly being 1, maybe down to 29 on the backside of a cold front, but we got nothing out of it. This nice weather still continues. Sun's out, cool, nice colors. Enjoy the weather. Tell me what you got.
There you go, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeb.
Sir.
I've seen that. You know, I don't know, but I think a lot of us veterans and that, we wonder what in the hell was it worth fighting for if we got to go through this crap every damn day of the week. I mean, we signed and we made a pledge to protect and defend the Constitution and the people of the United States of America. We did not agree to put ourselves subject to any damn dictator that comes along and says, you will do this, you will do that, you will not say the pledge. Well, mister, you can shove it, because I, for one, I'll fight you to the death until you get off that president's throne in there, and I don't give a damn what they think about it. I'm American, I'm a veteran, and by God, I'll say the pledge anytime I want, where I want.
With the words inclusive of under God.
Right.
And here's something else that you need to stick in your craw and chew on it a little bit this morning. You probably, because you know about the news, and you're kind of I mean this in all respect, I've said it before, a news junkie. You probably heard about the New York City assemblyman that was told he couldn't wear a United States flag lapel pin when they were taking pictures of all the different people in the different offices, and he said, I will wear my United States flag pin if I want to, in honor of being an American. He did wear the flag pin, and they cropped out of the photo the flag pin. What kind of a damn country are we living in now?
That's right, that's what I mean. What in the hell was the sense of fighting for this kind of crap, for these bunch of little weasels that was probably 4 efforts when they were supposed to go to service? Well, I can't do it. I got fallen arches and running to the mouth. I mean, I'm getting sick and tired of them. If you don't like this country, just pack your damn bags and get out of it.
Yeah, but the thing is, the transition is being allowed by the larger majority of people. People aren't standing up, Al. You know that. I mean, we're letting the little bitty Mickey Weinersteins come in and whine about everything and change everything for a small minority. But the majority of the people that really should be saying something, they're being quiet.
That's right. Well, let's start people from here on out. When they say you can't wear this, can't wear that, let's just go get a bigger sign and put it on our hats and that, and then say to hell with you kind of people.
Absolutely.
If you don't like it, leave it.
I couldn't agree more. Very well said. Thanks, Al. God bless.
Have a good
Thank you. And I'm going to keep saying that, by the way, to the caller that called in the other day that was so offended by that. Oh, that offends me. Oh, you shouldn't be allowed to say that on public airwaves. Sir, you ain't heard nothing yet. 4 Paws, 370 West, 200 South of Rupert, 438-4444. Oh, my goodness sakes. They can take care of your dogs and kitty cats. They bathe and groom cats. Now, I'm not saying that I would like that job without wearing a full NASA spacesuit, but bathing and grooming cats, if they can do that, and they also have boarding available for cats, these are tough people. And I'll guarantee you, whatever you need done for your dogs and kitty cats, they can handle over there. They got all the food, they got all the toys, they got everything for your dogs and kitty cats at 4 Paws, 370 West, 200 South of Rupert, 438-4444. Don't want to bathe a kitty cat. Woo! Look out! Here it comes. Wow! Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Home preparedness. I want to talk just a little bit about this for a moment because, extra food, extra water, and possibly an alternative heat source to stay warm. There might be some rougher times ahead. One does not know. I received an email yesterday, and it was from a firm called, let me get it right here, hold on just a second, the New America Foundation. And they sent me this email, and it opened my eyes a little bit when they were talking about Superstorm Sandy that hit the East Coast and the sudden food shortages that absolutely in just minutes occurred on the coast in New York, New Jersey, etc. And I think a lot of us need to open our eyes and understand that within minutes, after the Superstorm Sandy hit, the shelves were empty at major food distribution points along the coast, New York, New Jersey, etc., like I said just a moment ago. And I also wasn't aware that food today is often warehoused more than 100 miles away or more than 100 miles away from the actual consumer and has to be delivered to stores and distribution points, and when everything is upset, there's not going to be any distribution points. And I'm thinking that anywhere USA is vulnerable. I don't care if you live on the East Coast, down in the Southeast in Atlanta, Georgia, up in the Midwest, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, surrounding area, the Dakotas, Montana, Idaho, California, wherever. Every point of the United States is vulnerable. Now, I'm not saying to go out and just absolutely stock the basement from the floor to the ceiling and back again with everything and any kind of food, etc., but I am saying that I am starting to really, really change my mind about being a little bit more self-sufficient, if you will, and self-reliant, if you will, than what we have been. Now, I know that Deanne and I, we have some good friends that have really talked to us about, being prepared, and we've done a few certain things on a minimal basis. But boy, after reading and studying some of this, it makes you want to really appreciate the fact that maybe you had better be in control of your own environment. You had better be in control as to, the power grids are down, there's not going to be any heat for a week or 2 weeks, possibly. How are you going to stay warm? The food is not in the stores. How are you going to remain so that you can stay healthy with your family? Or water, the same thing. Or maybe you better have some extra gasoline or some extra diesel or whatever the case might be to make sure that if there are distribution points available, you have the energy resources to go to those distribution points and pick up what you need. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things you need to be aware of. And with our society today being, I think, living on a cliff with somebody always trying to push us over, it's not going to hurt for more people to be prepared and self-reliant on themselves. As a matter of fact, for my weekly newsletter, my blog, Cow Pies and Coffee Cups, I'm going to write about this on the front page of the blog this week, as a matter of fact, talking about how all of us need to become much more self-reliant and self-sufficient and not rely on government, not rely on the county sheriff, not rely on other people to help us. We've got to go back, I think, to the old school, the old days of like my grandparents and yours. They can handle it, and they know how. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm sure there's people out there that disagree, but that's okay. That's okay. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a great big, I'm talking huge tire sale going on right now. And whether you drive a car, whether you drive a pickup, whether you have a big SUV, whatever, they've got all the tires for you on sale now. Stop in and see what I mean. They've got a lot of the custom wheels on sale to dress up your four-wheeled wonder. They have, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the best in brake service for your vehicle, and all the shocks and struts, lights, all the front end alignments, all the batteries, everything you need for safe driving. So please, stop in and see Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike in Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Lane in Rupert, John on Poline and Twin, and Randy, the old Seahawk fan, on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All right, give me a call. I've still got plenty of time. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, you think about it, I'm not saying this for fact, but I would assume that most of the food distribution centers for us probably come out of Salt Lake and or Boise, and then as fingers in the pie go out from there. And it wouldn't take long. It wouldn't take long at all to have that very fragile system come to a screeching halt, and people are going, whoa, no mayonnaise on the shelf today, Bertha, what are we going to do? And I still think that we need to be much more self-reliant and have a plan. Sharon Hardy Mills has been on my program many times, and we've always talked about have a plan. Whether it's if you need to get out of your home and go someplace, have maybe some extra clothing put in your vehicle, or warm winter clothes, boots, some gloves, a warm hat, a warm jacket, whatever, and the extra food. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Ev, I'm calling back quick. I don't know if you're aware of the fact that 89 of 110 self-canning kitchens from the church of the LDS Church are being closed.
I am.
Okay, I didn't know if you touched on that and exactly how it's going on or why, I don't know, but it's just sounds very fishy.
Well, you know, quickly I'll say this, Randy. I'm not going to just say to one source, whether it's the LDS canneries or whether it's anything to do with the Methodists, the Lutherans, the Catholics, whatever, anybody that wants to have these sources of preparedness. It bothers me a lot to think that all of a sudden they're being shut down, and my question is why? Why are they being shut down? Is it in the name of canning and food safety? Is it in the name of government control and regulations? There's a lot of things today that I don't trust. And I will say this, when someone says you can't, that's when I say I will anyway.
Well, it's so fishy to me. And these things have been going on for forever, and it just amazes me that, you know, I mean, you get the feeling that they would go into your house and say, you can't can food, we can't trust you to do it safely. You know, the USDA, the FDA, they've got to be involved. You see, this is what they're doing.
Well, there's no way in the world that someone is going to tell me, my wife, or my family that I can't do something that I will do on my private property within my private home. I am not going to be legislated or regulated by anybody in official government capacities. That's where I draw the line at my front door, Randy.
Exactly. Hey, you know, Senator Russ Fulcher from Meridian or whatever is thinking about running against Butch. I didn't know if you knew, and it's just an interesting topic.
Absolutely. Got to run to the news, but thank you very much. Appreciate it. God bless. And I mean that. And we're going to keep saying that. Have a good day. I'll be back in about 6 minutes. My wife has been watching the questioning of Kathleen Sebelius and said it's, in one word, asinine. I couldn't agree with her more. Anyway, good morning. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia shores of Western Waste Services. We care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
In about 45 minutes, we're going to have Kelly Withers on the program with Western Waste Services. Hello, Gina loves that when I bite my tongue. Telling us all about how they are always at your disposal, Western Waste Services. That hurt. Anyhow, don't forget to Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, the owner-manager, and his very, very professional staff. Number to call, 436-5636. And they pledge to serve you and your family as you want to be served. Absolutely with the highest of ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. You will absolutely be amazed at these wonderful people and how they can take care of you and your family in a very solemn situation with the passing of a loved one. Well, call them today, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, serving you. Well, I'm not going to bite my tongue anymore. I'm just going to say very open and honest. Here's one of my best friends on the radio to have as a guest, and it happens to be from Colorado, Doug Johnson. Good morning, Doug. How are you?
I'm great, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Well, I could say a whole bunch of things about this, that, or the other, but, I'm not fair to you sometimes. When I get on the program, I start just throwing topics at you, and I think what I'll do is let you kind of wind up on the pitcher's mound and let me have a couple of curveballs. Go ahead.
Okay, well, actually, it's interesting because this morning I was thinking about things, and something occurred to me, and I started working on an op-ed that I may put out later today. I'm not sure yet. But it may surprise you, and that is that I'm usually very realistic. I'm still very realistic. I believe we need to be. I don't believe we should be optimistic. I don't believe we should be pessimistic. I believe we need to face reality and deal with the things at hand. And one of my great pet peeves, Zeb, is that not enough of us, and unfortunately I'm pointing the finger at me and you, who are out there in a position where we have a platform, are telling people enough of things they can do to help save America. And yet, as I think about that, and I think about all the things we're up against, there's an article out I just saw yesterday that Obama has replaced 197 of our key military leaders with people who will only agree with him. And I see things like this, I get very upset, and then I stop and I think to myself that, you know what? The old adage that when you're over the target, you get the most flack is true, and we're getting so much flack as conservatives right now. It means we're over the target. We've got the left reeling, and that includes the establishment Republicans who are trying to destroy the Tea Party and destroy conservatives and are against them. And Karl Rove, for example, has set up a mission to destroy conservative candidates in the upcoming midterm elections that was just announced. And I look at all this and I say, they wouldn't be upset and fighting so hard if we weren't having an impact. And so now is not the time to let up. Now is the time to fight harder. And so I think in some senses that's good news, and we need to take that kind of like General Washington going into Saratoga. The revolutionaries were losing, and Saratoga turned the war in their favor and started to move things forward. And we need to keep pushing forward. So I think in one sense, while we got a tough road ahead, there is some positive light on the horizon.
I have said, and I don't know if you were listening last hour or not, but I'm very pugnacious in certain aspects of my personality that I'm not going to back up for anybody. When it comes to home security, I am going to make sure that I have home security that I will administer and not wait for the officials, which might not get there in time to save me, my family, or my property. I am going to be very self-reliant on me. I am going to be very, very self-reliant on the fact that this government is not right now going to do the best for me or my family, and so I'm going to do all I can in legal fashions and paved roadways to make sure that I try to alert others as to the pitfalls that this Obama administration is trying to force on us. I think we all have to be much more cognizant that we need to have the I factor, more so today than ever.
Well, we absolutely do, and I think this is one of the beauties of talk radio, especially local and regional talk radio. It brings a level of understanding and news to the public that is not heard elsewhere. We don't get it on Fox News. Fox News is moving too far left anyway. But I
disagree with you there. I think
you don't even get it in a lot of the national shows the same way you do in a local show like your own. And this is really important. And I think in addition to educating people as to what's going on and keeping them, on the cutting edge of that information, the next step, and this is what my new book I'm working on will be coming out later in the winter, is going to be all about, is not just who we're up against and the problems they're creating, But how do we fight that? What do we do? It's not just about, okay, I'm going to vote. There are more things we can do, and that's what I'm currently researching and identifying, because I think people need to have a handle on that so they can do more. Because right now, our greatest strength is our people, and the majority of Americans, and when I say that, I mean the people, those of us in what Washington would call flyover country, we agree. Our values are the same. Most of us agree. Most of us want the same things. And we need to stand up to them and remind them they work for us or we're going to replace them.
I disagree with you to some extent on a comment you made just a little 30 seconds ago in regards to, and I'm not standing up for them, I do not draw a paycheck from them, nor probably will I ever, and that's Fox News. I don't think that you're correct in the assumption that as an entire entity they are moving to the left and serving the left base of our society. I disagree with you in entirety. I watch all newscasts and try to really study what's being said, and I would still put Fox News in the majority way to the right instead of leaning to the left.
Well, what I would say is a couple things. One is Fox News, even in a study about a year ago, done by UCLA, has been shown to be left of center. You look at their primetime lineup; they only have one conservative host, and that is Sean Hannity. Everybody else is either left-leaning or moderate, like O'Reilly, who's moderate, and basically he's the most wishy-washy of the bunch in my book. But they have a lot of pressure on them, I realize, because their parent corporation, News Corp, their second largest stockholder is a Saudi prince, and he brags that he can have the headlines change in the news within 20 minutes if he doesn't like them. He's got them to tone down their discussions of terrorism. He's gotten them to quit using certain phrases. And so there's a lot of things about Fox that are very questionable, and while they're better than the rest, they're still a long way from where they should be, I believe. And so I don't tend to watch them as much now, other than critically, because I think we don't get as solid news. For example, Zeb, I'll give you a good example. Megyn Kelly has a new show, and I haven't, my vote on where she stands politically is still out. I think she's kind of in the middle. But just the other night, she attacked Joe the plumber as basically for something that he posted, I guess on his website, an article he posted that was actually written by a black conservative, and she accused him of writing it and stood up against him and accused him of racism when he didn't even write the article. It was written by a black conservative, but she wouldn't give him a chance to respond. And this kind of stuff is ridiculous, and we see more and more of the what I would call the hit and run kind of activity going on that network now than we used to. There used to be more discussion. There isn't as much now, and that bothers me a lot about Fox.
And there again, I'd have to take a little bit of umbrage with what you said, because I'll use Greta Van Susteren. Greta was notoriously a left-leaning liberal when she was on other networks prior to joining the Fox News network, and I've got to admit, I'm not in favor of her having the time slot that she has now for her news on FNS, but I will say that her reporting on Obamacare has been extremely fair and extremely balanced, and quite frankly, last night, her caricature of Obamacare and how devastating it is to the American society and how Obama lied, those are the words she used last night, to the American society, is appalling. So, I mean, you have to look at, I think, each and every broadcast, each and every subject, and really draw lines of definition, and you can't just lump everybody into the same category.
Well, you do, but I'm glad you brought up what you did, Zeb, because as I was talking, I was thinking, I haven't read Greta. I don't get a chance to watch her much anymore because of her time slot, and I love Greta. Greta is, I believe, probably a registered Democrat. I know her husband is a huge powerhouse in the Democrat Party, and yet I think Greta Van Susteren may be the best and most balanced news show host of any network at any time slot in the U.S. today. She is a very fair journalist. She does a really good job. She holds people's feet to the fire on both sides of the aisle. I think Greta does a wonderful job, and I love her show. And I think she's a good example of somebody who can actually practice journalism regardless of where their personal views are. And I'm not saying I know her personal views. I just know that where her husband is at, and I would suspect there might be some agreement on some views, but you sure don't see her view. What you see is a journalist at work when you see her, and I think she has the best show on Fox myself.
Well, what I would say, though, in arbitration, gentlemanly arbitration on this issue, is that when you look at the other side of the spectrum and you look at the Ed Schultzes and you look at the Chris Matthews and others of that ilk with the hate diatribe and the basically saying death to all conservatives and especially from the congressman of Florida, and all of a sudden his name escapes me, and I'm sorry for that. Alan Grayson. You look at that ilk and the hate, the diatribe that they go on, that's acceptable to the liberal media, whereas it's good to have some solid, good-thinking conservatives, and I'll go along with Sean Hannity. I will go along, and I like Megyn Kelly and some of the stories that she's produced. I like Greta Van Susteren and some of the things she said. I am not a fan of Bill O'Reilly because Bill bloviates instead of studying the issue and really coming up with some concrete answers.
Yeah, Bill, frankly, usually is not educated on the issues. He's very poorly educated on the issues, I find. I have my issues with Megyn at this point. I think Sean is a solid conservative. Sean's biggest problem is he doesn't control a discussion. So, for example, if you and I were opposing viewpoints on his show, we'd be arguing and screaming over and above each other, and he would not be, moderating properly. And that's the problem with his shows. You really can't hear half of what goes on. But I think he's solid in his views and the positions he takes. And, of course, like I've already mentioned, Greta. But, you said something else that's interesting. You bring up MSNBC, which is absolutely the mouthpiece for the White House. It's fascinating to me, and of course their lack of viewership shows it. They get so few people watching, shows just what the American public really thinks. But what's interesting to me, Zeb, is that their parent, NBC, has just this week, of course, broken a blockbuster story about Obamacare. CBS News came out with an unbelievable piece for CBS News on 60 Minutes about Benghazi on Sunday. So we're starting to see some cracks in the armor of the mainstream media as they're starting to pay a little bit of attention to some of these things, and I think it's interesting. I don't think it's a sign of any great change on the part of the mainstream media, but what it means is even through those sources, some of this stuff is starting to get out, and so the general public who don't watch Fox, who don't listen to talk radio, who don't read what we read on the Internet, they're starting to hear some things they weren't even aware of. And this is exactly how Nixon came down in Watergate, because Watergate was very quiet, and then suddenly, after a long time of Woodward and Bernstein fighting and bringing this stuff out there, finally it started to break through to the mainstream media, and eventually things started to crumble. So I think I go back to what I was saying when we originally started this conversation. I think that's a good sign, good time for us to be pushing hard, because I think there's a lot of people in America, as they become aware of what's going on, they can be moved over to the right way of thinking when they start to understand the corruption going on in Washington.
Well, and I'll add one more little fly to the milk here this morning, and then I've got to do a quick commercial break. But I'm also, and I'm not a fan of Hollywood. Please do not misunderstand. I know a lot of people in Hollywood. I've been in movies in Hollywood. But I will say this. Hollywood, in general, right now is taking on a different personality. They're not actually coming out yet and condemning Obama or looking at him in a lesser fashion and sorry that they voted for him, but with the new video that's out by many of Hollywood actors saying, hey, enough of this NSA spying on us, enough is enough. There are chinks in the armor that are occurring with the liberals in Hollywood, and this is a good sign that maybe some people are coming to their senses.
Yeah, I think so, and I think the other thing is, this is the good news about Obamacare. The total pain of Obamacare still won't be felt for a few years, but people are starting to hear about it, they're starting to feel it. As they do, when you hit people in their wallet, especially with such a bad economy and people struggling so much anyway, people start to take notice, and I think that actually is good for our side, because people start to realize that this isn't what they thought it would be. There was a Democrat who was interviewed recently who was a huge supporter, and she worked for one of the Democrat politicians, and she has left them, and she says she's a big supporter of Obamacare now, or before, but she's not now, because now she realizes that she has to pay for it. And she said, I thought it was going to be great, but now that I realize I have to pay for it, I don't support it.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting. People always think there's a free handout, and of course you and I know there's no free lunch in life. But as people start to wake up to the financial pressure this is going to put on them, I think that plays very well, and it sets us up really well for the 2014 elections, the midterms coming up. I think it's great, and we need to be holding our politicians accountable or replacing them if they're not voting the way we want.
Absolutely. Hang on 30 seconds. Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-1459. Their tagline is working hard to provide great service to all the communities in Magic Valley. And a good old gentle Ben with the atrium windows. Oh, those atrium windows can increase the energy efficiency of your home by 2 to 3 times. Keep the heat inside where you're nice and warm and comfy. Check it out today. Atrium Windows at Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-1459. You know, Doug, real quick, I want to just make this comment that I haven't had a chance to see all of the testimony so far this morning, naturally being on the air, but my wife has watched it quite extensively, and it was really partisan right down the middle. She said the Democrats would sit there, and when their time was occurring, they would just assail the Republicans and damn the Republicans and say, how dare you suggest that there's been something illicit or wrong with Obamacare? It's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. But when the Republicans had their time, they asked direct, poignant questions as to why it isn't working and why it's been structured in such a poor fashion. And it just showed to my wife and me while I was watching that the Democrats would rather put some peanut butter and mayonnaise over the problem and hope it sticks together so they can eat the sandwich.
Well, absolutely, and I haven't seen those hearings yet, but what you describe, what you say Deanne was describing, is right out of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. This is what they do. This isn't about fixing Obamacare. They couldn't care less. They don't care about the American public, contrary to what people might think. Their goal is more control and more power. President Obama has said that. He said it is never about the issue at hand. It's always about gaining more power. And what they do is they attack, they isolate, they try to vilify people, and get your mind off of the actual issue at hand. And this is where we often see people fall prey to this in interviews or in discussions, is they follow the path the other person takes in the argument instead of holding them, to the issue. And I always find that interesting. It takes critical thinking and it takes, really focus to hold people accountable in a debate. So if you and I were debating with some people who were liberals, they'll be all over the page. We got to keep bringing back the topic at hand and holding them to that, because that's what the left does, is they do exactly what she was seeing, what she was describing to you. And I think this should also be another sign for the American public that these people are not out to help us. They are out for more control and more power. And we have to remember, totalitarian regimes, when they come into power, the first thing they do is take over healthcare. That's what Hitler did.
Yep.
We see it time and again throughout the world. Once they control your health, they control your life, and that's what they want.
And Doug, the idiocy, and I'm going to use that word and not back up from it, the idiocy of their excuse saying, well, we're not sure how many people have signed up yet. And then one congressman said, well, wait a minute, why don't you know how many people have signed up? Well, we're going to have those figures by November 15th. Doug, you know as well as I do. They know exactly how many people have attempted to sign up. They know how many people have signed up. It's like Greta said on her program last night. I'll go back to that. If she can use one of her cards to get $100 advance at a cash machine in Dubai, and immediately it gives her balance after that $100 withdrawal, these people with Obamacare know exactly how many people have tried to sign up on this fiasco.
Oh, absolutely. They know fully, and this isn't as much about incompetence as, one thing that occurs to me, somebody asked me yesterday in an interview, said, did I think that they were starting to crumble because of Obamacare? And I said, what scares me is we're all focused on Obamacare right now, and I always worry with this administration, if this is what's out front and we're focusing on, what are they doing behind the scenes we're not aware of that's far worse?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it makes me nervous what else they're up to. And I think part of that's immigration. I think part of it has to do with other things. But I think that, all they do is lie. And I did catch a few minutes of Bill O'Reilly's show last night, and he was arguing with somebody about whether or not the president really knew that things were going to be bad. And I said to my wife, I said, of course he knew. He just lies about it. And O'Reilly doesn't want to accept the idea that our president would lie. Well, I don't have a problem saying he would lie. A lie is a lie. And if a person tells a lie, you call it what it is. And we have an administration that does nothing but lie, and they have no problem with doing that. And I think that's hard for Americans to accept about their president, but it's true.
Well, if you look at it from the standpoint, I got a minute left here. If you look at it from the standpoint of, I didn't know there was a problem with the IRS. Oh, I didn't know about this with Benghazi. I didn't know about the First Amendment rights that have been infringed upon by James Rosen of Fox News. I didn't know this. I didn't know about Fast and Furious. Let me tell you something. If that's the answer a president is going to give, he's a very incompetent man for the job, because he is in the Oval Office and he is the overseer of our government.
Well, absolutely. He's, if that's the case, you're right. He's one of few things. He's either a liar or he's incompetent. There's no middle ground anywhere. And so you're absolutely right. And people need to focus on that and realize that.
Doug, doggone it, the half hour went too fast. I wish we had another half hour. It's always good to talk to you, my friend. And stay warm back in Colorado and have a good weekend. And we'll see you next week.
You do the same. Thanks, Zeb.
My friend Doug Johnson, and he is, of course, a great author and has the Horse Sense blog and author of the book No Tomorrows. And more books are forthcoming. We'll tell you all about them. Doug Johnson in Colorado. Don't forget, when you think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of those things that we need to be concerned about and take care of, sometimes we put them on the back burner. Bad. No, don't do that. You should automatically reach for the telephone and make an appointment with Cameron and Siemens Insurance at 436-4424. Dean, Cameron, Todd Siemens, absolutely accessible and devoted to serving you and taking care and helping your security needs. So give them a call. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You contact them today. Woo, good conversation with my buddy back there. I really appreciate it. And, two, I want to remind you about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I keep telling you that they have all the carpeting and all the floor coverings, but they have, and I want you to really pay attention to this, all the Flex Steel furniture. America's seating specialists are back on Lee's Furniture Floor. You check it out. All the wonderful furniture from Flex Steel. And they've got the professionals there that can help you. I mean, they know all about comfort. They know all about home beautification, and they can help you. Stop in and talk to them today. Like I said, and check out all the mattresses, all the bedroom sets, everything. What a selection of recliners. Well, comfort's the name of the game. At Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. Some really, really good folks over there. And before we go to our next guest, which is going to be Jeff Poole with Scows and in the driver's seat, I also want to remind you about our friends over to Let's Ride. Yeah, buddy. Oh, yeah. Get your motor running. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Number to call, 436-4771. They're open Tuesdays through Saturdays, and they've got all the new 2014 model snow machines in there. Yeah, head for the hills, crank it up, and have some fun. And they've got the brand new 2014 ATVs in there, and a great parts and service department that can serve you. Where am I talking about? Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, definitely where the fun is sold. You're going to really like those folks. It is time for In the Driver's Seat, presented by Scows CarQuest Centers in Burley, Rupert, and Heyburn, and co-hosted by my buddy, the old answer man, Jeff Poole. Don't forget, for all your automotive needs, every detail matters all the time at Scows in Rupert, Burley, and Heyburn. Good morning, Jeff Poole. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
I am great, and I understand you got a whole litany of things that we need to talk about this morning. It's going to get chilly, and people need to make sure that old four-wheeled wonder is going to get them from point A to point B. Tell us about some of the things they should be aware of.
Well, definitely lots to get ready for wintertime. Let's talk about fuel for a minute.
Okay.
With the weather getting like this, all the diesel guys, some of this fuel is not treated yet, and it's good to extend the treatment actually with, Howe's fuel treatment, power service, some of them types of things, keep you from gelling up and getting cold and also storing your fuel.
Okay. When you say that about fuel, Jeff, I have a question because I have a diesel. Well, how do we know? I mean, when do we know when we go to the pumps that it's ready for the winter driving? And if it's not ready for the winter driving and we take off and we're going across to Rawlins, Wyoming, and we get over there the next day or two and it might be 5 degrees above zero, what kind of problems are we going to have?
Well, I'm not a fuel expert, but I've definitely been told that the fuels are not all treated the same. So if it's treated for a region. So if you are traveling let's say you had excellent coverage in your region, if you are traveling out, doesn't mean you're going to get the same fuel quality, or same treatment level at the next place. So it's best prepared just to make sure that you've done it yourself, then you know you're covered.
Now, when you say you've done it yourself, is that by taking care of your own fuel stabilizers with the products that you have there at Scows?
Absolutely. Like I say, there's, just call a few brands out by name, House Fuel Treatment, Power Service, either one of those are excellent, for storage or for, anti-gel. So it's real important to have those guys in there before you have a problem. If you've ever gelled up, it's a pretty good process to get back on the road.
Well, Jeff, if a person's a first-time diesel buyer, pickup car, whatever, how do they know? I mean, sure, you can read those little books in the dash and everything, and you can find out, well, if you're an owner of this vehicle, you need to do this, this, and this. But they don't know the difference in products and everything. They better come in and talk to you before this cold weather gets worse, right?
Yeah, for sure. We've got 3 locations right here in the area, and we're all versed in this stuff. And on top of that, any of these products are a great conditioner as well. They help keep good proper lubrication there on your seals and O-rings and whatnot. It's just a good idea to have it there, regardless of the weather. Actually, we have a lot of people buy it even in the summer.
Okay, so then basically, when you talk about fuel treatment for diesel, every time you fill up, do you need to increase the amount of fuel treatment you put in that tank, or is what you have in there, let's say it goes down to a half a tank, is that sufficient?
It is rated per gallon. So like you say, if you got a half a tank and you refuel up, you're just going to dilute it even further. So, you want to keep that ratio correct.
Okay. We have a caller with a question, Jeff. Go ahead, caller, quickly. Go ahead.
Okay. Number one, is there a way on a diesel truck to, put it on a computer and do a minor adjustment tune-up with the computer system and that? And the other thing is I've learned the hard way that you go down into Southern California or Arizona or something like that and fuel up and then come back up into Utah, Wyoming, or Nevada. The fuel down there is not treated, and it'll bite you once you hit the cold weather area.
Okay, we'll have Jeff respond to that on the air. Thank you for the call. Jeff, go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's being able to hook up to a vehicle for diagnostics and that kind of thing, absolutely. Our Havern location does heavy trucks. Over here in Rupert, we do heavy trucks and automotive, diagnostics and, testing that way. So absolutely, and the caller is absolutely right. That's what I mentioned. The fuels are not the same by region. So if you're going to be traveling someplace, again, it's best to have, you've treated it.
Mm-hmm. So if you're heading, and I'm glad that Kiltman called on that this morning because that's an excellent question. So if you've been down in, let's say, Brawley, California, and you're headed over to Sheridan, Wyoming, and you've got still some of that fuel from California in there, you could have a whole bunch of trouble, couldn't you, by the time you get to Sheridan?
Well, you definitely won't know until you're sitting on the side of the road.
Absolutely. Jeff, I had another question called into us this morning, as a matter of fact, before the program, and a gentleman said, I have a diesel pickup. What size extension cord do I need to plug it in, and at what temperature do diesels need to be plugged in to make sure they'll start in the morning? I think that's a good time to bring that up. Extension cords are not all the same, are they?
They're not, and it's also length is going to play into that. You're going to, anytime you increase length, you increase resistance. So, I would say probably at least a 12 to 14 gauge, preferably like a 10 gauge extension cord. Again, varying by length. Most of them guys are usually pretty short, but, if they are running 100 foot or something out there, just remember that as you gain length, you better increase in gauge size as well. Okay, now, what about the time or the temperature to plug it in? I mean, are diesels, will they still function correctly and not cause you trouble when it gets down to 29 or 30, or is that the time to be plugging them in? It's definitely the time to be plugging them in. You know, the diesel technology is not like gas. You know, maybe this is a good comment to, you know, help some of the listeners understand. You know, a gas runs off of air, spark, and fuel. A diesel does not. It runs off compression. You know, that's how it ignites its fuel, and when it's cold like that, it can't crank as fast. It can't, you know, it's a lot harder for that diesel to. You want to keep that thing nice and warm, keep your fuel warm. You know, that's what's actually making that thing run.
Okay, now, when a person, I'll use my own situation, when I go out to my pickup and I turn my diesel, the key on, it'll go ding, 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 ding about 6 or 7 times. Now, my question is, should a guy turn the key off and do it again in colder mornings just to make sure that it's had a chance for those heaters to do their job and start the engine?
Well, the heaters that you're referring to are your glow plugs.
Right.
You know, you've got them guys in there, and basically what's happening at that point is they're superheating inside that, you know, combustion chamber, and it's preheating that stuff, so it can, you know, get that fuel up to temperature to be able to compress and fire. You know, if your system is running properly, you shouldn't have to cycle that again. It typically has a timed system there where it's going to suffice to start you.
Okay, so we've talked about adding something to the fuel to make sure that because it might not be treated, you're going to get into colder temperatures and possibly have trouble. We've talked about plugging it in, and that's another problem too, Jeff, because people that travel a lot, like me, boy, in the evening sometimes at maybe a motel over in Minot, South Dakota, you might not be able to find some place to plug that thing in. What do you do then?
You pray it starts. You know, there's you know, getting past the diesels. Basically, you know, there's a lot of winterization a guy's got to do. Your lawnmowers, your RVs, your own vehicle, your motorcycles, your 4-wheelers. You know, all these things need fuel stabilizers in them, guys. So you know, make sure you get a good start the next year, and you know, we offer all them products here as well. So.
Okay, now, I want to also ask you quickly, I've got another question that was called in, and then we're going to go into quickly about oil changes. Gentleman asked a question I think that is really a good one. How big of a trailer weight is wise to know? I want to rephrase this question. It's not very clear here. How big a trailer, weight-wise, can I tow with a light half-ton pickup? Do you understand that question?
I do. You know, you want to look at on your door typically of almost all your pickups.
Yeah.
It'll have a gross vehicle weight, and it'll have a tow weight there.
Okay.
You know, that's something you want to refer to. You know, each manufacturer claims, you know, they're the best towing half-ton pickup, whatever. That's great. I would go by what's on the door, you know, and go off of that recommended there. And another thing there is you know, is he bumper pulling this thing? Has he got a hitch on it? That's going to vary as well. But definitely look at your gross vehicle weight, and it'll kind of give you a formula there of what your trailer weight needs to be.
Okay. Now, I want to quickly ask you a question. I've only got about a minute left in here. Oil changes this time of the year. Do they need to change the weight of the oil for their vehicles? People need to know this.
For sure. You know, a lot of guys, especially in your gas vehicles, you know, we've got several customers that run, say, 1540 in there, and say they're 6-liter Chevy or they're 5.4 Ford, and we've had engine failures because they didn't change the oil. They didn't change the weight as it gets cold. You know, they definitely need to be back into like a 530 or something. You know, you want to get that front number down. You know, if you're running a 1540 in the summer, get that guy down to about a 530, you know, for the winter time, and you know, basically you can guarantee oil flow. If you're running too thick of oil when it's cold, it cannot lubricate properly, and you do run the potential for failure.
All right, now repeat that again, because I think I need to know that too. Normally on a diesel, most of us run a 1540 during the summertime, but you're saying now's the time for diesel owners to look at a 530 for diesel. Is that right?
No, I'm sorry to mislead you. There's about, I would stay with, you know, when your diesels, stay say with your 1540. I'm saying a lot of guys run that 1540 in their gas vehicles.
Oh, I see.
And that's getting pretty heavy for wintertime, at least for the conditions we live in.
Okay, now, Scouts CarQuest Centers, tell us quickly, every detail matters, and there's really anything and everything they need for their automotive needs, their truck needs, right there at 3 locations, right, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to give you the locations, folks. Don't forget, they're there to serve you. Scouts CarQuest Center in Rupert, 323 East 8th Street, Highway 25 in Rupert. Scouts CarQuest of Burley, 518 Overland in Burley, and Scouts Truck Center at Exit 211 on I-84 in Hayburn. Jeff Poole knows everything about vehicles, and I certainly appreciate the knowledge this morning. And next week, we got some more talks, tips and talks about winter driving right here on In the Driver's Seat, presented by Scouts CarQuest Center, and, of course, the answer man, Jeff Poole. Have a good day, my friend.
Thanks, Zeb. You too.
God bless. Jeff Poole, one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. You stop in and see him today at Scouts. Really good folks. I learn a lot about your vehicles from those folks. I appreciate that segment. We got to pay some bills, and in just a few minutes, we're going to have Kelly Withers on the phone with us from Western Way Services as we go into the fall and cooler temperatures. Don't forget Perkins Restaurant and Bakery. Oh, my. The other day, I got to share this with you. I broke my diet. Yeah, I did. We were in there for the Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And this waitress come over to me and she said, well, Mr. Bell, it was your birthday in October. And I said, yes, it was. And she said, well, would you like a piece of pie? And she gave me a list of all the pies. And you talk about a hard decision to make. And I ended up taking a piece of the chocolate silk pie. A slice of heaven. All their pies are absolutely fantabulous. Of course, everything in their bakery, I mean, their cookies and their muffins. Oh, have you tried one of those raspberry and cream mammoth muffins? Oh, boy, making me drool. You're going to love the food. You're going to love the people at Perkins Restaurant and Bakery, 800 North Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Wow, good food. Let's go to the phone lines right now, but first of all, we better check in with the quarterback of the team, and that would be Gina. Gina, what's going on over there at the station? I thought I heard Merv May just a few minutes ago.
I don't think so, but we do have Kelly on the phone for you.
Yeah, he was giving his chant, and I thought, today's not Thursday, but he's sure selling early.
You never know. I could have hit the button by accident.
That's all right. Your elbow did it. Blame it on your elbow.
I will.
All right.
Elbow's fault.
Ladies and gentlemen, with us on the phone line right now is a gentleman that I've got a lot of respect for because he's got a business that probably 99% of us wouldn't want to be messed with, and that's garbage business. But Western Way Services, always at your disposal. They're taking care of your garbage. They're getting it out of your sight, getting it off your property, and getting it off your mind. Good morning, Kelly Withers. How are you?
I'm great, Zeb. How are you?
You know, whatever, I got to ask you a little story about yourself, and I've known you for a long time, but whatever possessed you, Kelly Withers, to say one day you had this epiphany hit you and you said, I think I'll go in the garbage business?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I had a friend that had been in the business, and he asked me to get into it with him, and I did, and 10 years later, here we are. So,
you know, Kelly,
that's kind of it in a nutshell.
You might tell everybody that being in the garbage business, per se, there's a lot to it because of all the regulations, the restrictions, where you can go, what you can't do, and everything. I mean, you guys have got a lot of things you got to keep up on top of, don't you?
Yes, we do, and that's why we've hired the staff that we have to make sure we're in compliance with all the disposal and pickup needs, so that we keep ourselves out of trouble and also our valued customers.
You know, let me ask you this. I know that you've been hitting and we've been highlighting on this program about the various dumpsters and various sizes. Those are a neat deal because, boy, when people are cleaning out the garage and finally Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred get up at a big fight and they say, we got to get this all cleaned out, you've got them in all the different sizes, and when they're filled, you'll come get them, right?
Yes, absolutely, and that brings up a great point, because this time of year, with all the cleaning up of the flower beds and the yards and the leaves and whatnot,
just for instance, just this morning I had the guys deliver one to my house because it's just so easy to put it in the driveway and fill it up, and we come pick it up, and they can keep it for a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, and then it really simplifies things. And along that line, we have a half off a delivery, and they can call the office to get the quotes on that.
Okay.
So now's the perfect time to take advantage of cleaning the garage and the yard and everything before winter.
And not only that, but I mean, Christmas is getting closer, and the garage is a mess, and a lot of people don't even know where their Christmas tree is, so they better start pitching and throwing things so they can find it in time for Christmas.
If they're like me, that's very true.
All right. Now, another thing, too, that I got to brag on because we've been on your route service for a long time, and that's the trash weekly collection. I mean, those big trucks come by, and they're always well polished and cleaned up, and the driver, I just love watching that driver stick that big old arm out there, that electric arm, pick that garbage thing up. They're pretty darn handy.
Yes, they're very handy, and we pride ourselves in having the best service people in the industry, and they really value the customers because they know and we know that without the customers we don't have a job. So we do have good people, and we're very proud of them.
Oh, I can tell that. Now, Kelly, this time of the year, what else do you want people to know about Western Waste Services now that things have kind of moved from the outdoors to the indoors? What else do they need to know?
Well, we still offer the portable restrooms, and we're still doing the cardboard recycling in the Twin Falls, Jerome area at a very inexpensive cost to the customer. And it's garbage just happens year round. With the holidays coming up, if they got family, they can get an extra small dumpster or something through the holidays. We're just here for whatever their needs are.
Has anybody ever invented a porta potty with an electric seat heater that's going to sit outside in the wintertime?
No, but I'm sure there's some construction guys that would love to have some.
Well, see, I've just helped you create a new business. We could really have a ball pitching that on my radio program.
Yeah, we'll work on that, Zeb.
All right. Hey, listen, Kelly, I appreciate you taking the time to be on our program because the slogan says it all. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services. Kelly, you're a great guy. 734-6969. Thanks for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you, Zeb, and I want to wish everybody a happy Halloween and thank all of our existing customers and future customers.
Hey, hold on just a second, Kelly. We got a call for you. Hold on just a second. Caller, go ahead, please, quickly.
Mr. Kelly, I'd like to tell you right now, in my route out here, we've got one of the finest drivers we've ever seen. That man does not let nothing hit the ground, and you can almost set your clock with him because he said, I'll be here, and he is here. I appreciate that kind of service.
Well, I appreciate that. Can I ask where you live?
We're Carefree Estates, out here by Stars Ferry Building.
I will make sure that driver receives that compliment from you and from me.
All right.
Don't change him. Please keep him where he is.
Thank you, and we'll make every effort to do that.
All right. Thank you, caller. Appreciate that. Kelly, thanks much. On behalf of my program, we appreciate your patronage and your advertising right here. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Kelly, happy Halloween, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and get those seat warmers, man. It's a great business.
Thanks, Ed. Have a great day.
Take care. Thank you much. Gina, get on the phone for a second. Get on the microphone for a second.
That would be a great invention, I know. My mind is already turning.
I wonder if I'm going to get any residuals off of that if somebody comes up with a battery-operated porta-potty seat that could stay warm.
That would be something to try and consider.
I mean,
my mind is working on this one. My mind is working.
A lot of people accuse my mind of going way too far overtime.
Sometimes it does.
Hey, let's have a weather update real quick from Michael Rogers Weather, and it's brought to you this hour by Lennox Home Comfort Systems, gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps, always through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459.
Everybody, Michael Rogers of MichaelRogersWeather.com. Beauty of our day is a lot of sun and very little clouds. I'm not going to really shut it down, so it's going to be cooler today. Temperatures, you might struggle to get to the upper 50s. And the overnight low, that's going to be cold. You're going to be down to freezing, possibly being 1, maybe down to 29 on the backside of a cold front, but we got nothing out of it. This nice weather still continues. The sun's out, cool, nice colors. Enjoy the weather. Tell me what you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Of course, gas furnaces, air conditioners, or heat pumps. Your family will enjoy the comfort of Lennox from Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We'll talk about any subject you want to talk about for about the next 8 minutes. Tonight is, I think, going to be the last night of the World Series. I believe the Boston Red Sox will win tonight at home and will be the world champions for 2013. And deservedly so. Boston's had a lot of problems with the bombing and everything else going on in Boston, and I certainly hope it's good for the city, good for the morale of the area, and I wish them the best. Boston Red Sox, I hope you win the World Series this evening. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, caller, I'll be right with you. Mike Campbell called me not too many days ago, and I've been hitting this on occasion. The second annual dinner and raffle, Veterans Helping Veterans, will take place Saturday, November 2nd, this coming weekend, at the Senior Citizen Center at 530 Shoshone Street West in Twin Falls. For any more information, call 358-2752, and it's going to be adults 650, ages 4 to 12, $450, and under 3 free. That's going to be from 2 to 5 p.m. this coming Saturday. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. One more thing I needed to mention this morning. I slipped my mind. But I'd like to get out to all the listeners out there across this great country of America to get a hold of your representatives and your senators and tell them before we do any more with the government shutdown, which is going to be coming up in about 3 months, and the debt ceiling time limit's going to be running out, that we want a budget. We want a budget in our hands. It's time for us to take offense and say, with no budget, we're not even negotiating.
Well, there's one other thing, too, Doug, and I want to emphasize this. I honestly think that Obama and his henchmen that aid him and assist him in pushing things and ramming things through Congress, I think we should be very, very careful and cognizant of what kind of immigration reform they're going to try to slip in at the dead of night.
Very true, too, because we're watching the one hand with Sebelius, and what's the other hand doing behind our back?
Amen. You see, I look at things like almost there's something very treacherous going on. While all of us are concerned as to how Kathleen Sebelius is going to answer or not answer questions from Congress about Obamacare, and while we're concerned about Obamacare and whether it's going to work on the computer or not, all the time this is going on, there's other much more insidious things that are being hidden or pushed under the carpet. And I'll give you a couple of examples. One being Benghazi, still no answers. And number 2, look out for the immigration reform. I honestly believe that Obama is going to do all he can to buy 12 million votes for the 2014 election.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you give them free cell phone, free food, and free medical care. They're going to vote Democrat all their life.
You got it. You got it. Always appreciate your calls. Thank you much.
You bet.
God bless. Have a good day. Calls are welcome. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Are you still playing with the computer over there? Did you manage to get in and log in on that earlier or not?
Nope, never did.
Nothing.
Nope, it still says, we are sorry, our system is temporarily down.
So what you're telling me then is, my dear, is that the letter I received from HHS might be not true?
Say it isn't so.
Why, they said they can process nearly 17,000 account registrants per hour or 5 per second with a 0 rate of error. What are you telling me?
I'm telling you that the government is lying.
Could you be more blatant?
Or wait a second. It's the company that the government hired that is out of country that is lying.
What did you think yesterday about that story about Michelle Obama and her friend, Tony, and I got to get her name. I can't remember her name sometimes.
Tony Whitley.
Yeah, Tony, the exact full name is Tony Towns Whitley, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama's friend. Not impressed at all. And the more information that we compile about the people who are residing in the White House, the less I'm impressed.
You know,
the more I want them out of there.
Does it make you question the marriage of Barack and Michelle, a marriage of convenience, if you will? We have a very far left-leaning lady that was never happy or thought a lot about the United States as being a good country until her husband was elected president, and she helped organize many communist meetings at Princeton University. And then on the other side, you've got Barack Obama that basically grew up in the Middle East, adopting Middle Eastern principles and, quite frankly, the Muslim religion.
Was it an arranged marriage?
That's another thing. You never find out about, their dating or other people they dated. Nobody's ever come forth and said, well, I dated Barack Obama or I dated Michelle. Nobody ever has any case history about these past
I know, and it makes one wonder. What truly is their past?
Yeah, and I know that her past is that she has brothers and sisters involved in, like one brother, a former coach at Oregon. And
wasn't he under scandal?
Yeah, tell me about it. Big time scandal. And it just makes you wonder, really, the questions that have not been answered. But the number one question I'll ask you, as I've asked on my program many, many times, where did Barack Hussein Obama get all the money necessary to propel himself not only into the Illinois legislature, but eventually into the presidency of the United States?
Whoever his handlers are. And I'm still trying to dig in on information on that, because honestly, I think that Obama is he's just a mouthpiece of whoever is truly behind him, controlling him. Now, I know a lot of people say it's Soros, but Soros is kind of dropped off. There's somebody else deeply embedded that we don't know about that is honestly, truly pulling his strings. I want to know who that person or persons are, because he's just a mouthpiece. Honestly, I think Obama is just a mouthpiece.
There are bigger fish in the barrel.
I do believe so.
I'm going to take a break for 6 minutes. We're going to come back with Dr. Larry Kawa talking about the ridiculousness of Obamacare. And then, again, continuing in the insurance theme at 10:30, we're going to talk to Idaho Senator Dean Cameron. Don't go away. Oh, man, we're back in the saddle for one more hour. Zeb at the Ranch, right here on K-Bar, streaming live on the internet, zebbell.com, all over the universe. Brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and all of our great advertisers, including, of course, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley. And let's not forget our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call to get on the route service, 734-6969. Without further ado, we're going to go right to the phone lines, and we have a guest for this hour, and I'm really anxious to hear this man talk about a subject that's been burning in my mind for the last couple of months and talking about it almost every day on the show, Obamacare. And I hope I say his name correctly, Dr. Larry Kawa. Larry, is that correct?
You got it perfectly correct.
All right, nice to have you on the show this morning, Larry. Give us a little background about you and your business and why you are a little bit more than upset over Obamacare.
Well, I'm an Orthodox that has just one office in South Florida. I've been in the same place for 20 years. I've given my staff health insurance for 20 years, and I've never needed the government to tell me to be compassionate to my staff. But here's my beef about Obamacare, is that it's not just that it's a terrible law, it's about the legality of whether the president had the legal right or authority to waive the employer mandate, which is what he did on July 2nd of this year. So I reached out to Judicial Watch, and I wanted to be a plaintiff, and they agreed they'd represent me. And on October 1st, we filed our case in federal district court, and our goal is to get an injunction to prevent him from waiving a law. He doesn't have the right to change or make laws apart from the will of Congress. It says in no uncertain terms in Obamacare that the employer mandate will be in full force and effect January 1st, 2014. But he feels that he's a Congress of one, and he poked the Constitution in the eye when he decided that he's going to go ahead and change an existing law. As Article 1 says, only Congress can make or change laws. The President has an affirmative duty to enforce the existing laws. I would argue that he has no more power than you or I to change an existing law. And I would say that if you want to attack the Constitution, there's still millions of patriots like ourselves that are willing to put ourselves in harm's way and say, you have to come through us, because we have sued the IRS, the Commissioner of the IRS, Daniel Werfel, the Department of the Treasury, and the Secretary of the Department of the Treasury, which is Jack Lew, former Chief of Staff for Obama. And for those that on the left that would like to accuse myself and others that we are obstructionists, actually we're not. It's the President that's an obstructionist because he's trying to obstruct an existing law. It's us that are trying to enforce the law. And while it's a terrible law, I feel that law should be enforced. And like Ulysses S. Grant said, the best way to repeal a bad law is to enforce it vigorously, and that's exactly what we're trying to do.
I tell you what, Larry, kudos to you. God's blessings to you. I'm going to ask you, if you're on a cell phone, to hold that cell phone really, really still, because we're getting a little waiver right there. Larry, I've asked this question way back, long before I knew you or had ever asked you on this program. As a matter of fact, I've asked a lot of the major intelligence people regarding Obamacare, and they can't give me an answer. I've asked former congressmen this question. They can't give me an answer. Maybe you can give me an answer. I said for about the last 6 months, how did Obama have the right, or why did he take it upon himself, after the Supreme Court said that Obamacare is legal in a fashion, how then could Obama take it upon himself to change it, alter it, and still not have it be null and void, because it's not the same fabric it was that the Supreme Court passed on? How did he manage to do this?
It's a very good question. I'll give you the answer. First of all, we've asked him that question, and you may have seen in the news he said many times, let me be clear. Well, we've asked him, predicated on what legal authority did you have that right? He claims he has the authority, but refuses to disclose it until a later date. So if you want to be clear, go ahead, be clear. We're giving you the opportunity, but this time it'll be enforced. But in answer to your question, we filed suit under the Administrative Procedure Act of 1946, which is an act that is geared towards protecting us from tyrants like this president. And it's obviously a brazen overreach or a power grab that he's attempting. And in order to sue, because many people would like to sue, including many that are in Congress, the key is you need to have standing or show injury in order for the judge to be willing to hear your case. And here's what's unique about our case, why we were able to do this, is that I actually paid attorneys to make sure that my office was compliant with this despicable law, because I'm still a law-abiding citizen. And I did that prior to the time that he allegedly waived the employer mandate. And my injury is that not only have I spent money in legal fees, but by virtue of this president moving the goalpost, not only did I waste my money in legal fees, but I'm going to have to do it time and time again on a quarterly basis to make sure that my office remains in compliance, not with the laws, but with his tweets. The way he did this change was, for those that forgot, he tweeted it on the first day of an 8-day-long, $100 million trip to Africa. And if it's something he was proud of, why didn't he do it when he was here rather than when he was retreating from the country on that 8-day trip? So in order for Congress to be able to have legal standing, they can't do it because they are exempt from the law. And what nobody really knows is that they have each given a $5,000 per head subsidy that is tax-free. I say again, tax-free, that they and every member of their family gets $5,000 a head, as does every member of their staff and their immediate families. So they're not only exempt from the law, from Obamacare, they're exempt from paying Medicare, Social Security, FICA, and MICA taxes like the rest of us do. I believe that was orchestrated by inside the White House, since it was a gift given to them by the OPM, the Office of Personnel Management, to specifically exempt them from being able to file in federal court, because it wouldn't even pass the laugh test that you're injured by something you're not only exempt from, but you're bonused for. I hope that helps answer the question.
Absolutely. Now, Larry, let me ask you this. This debacle, Obamacare, they've had over 3.5 years to get everything all set up on a website, and I want to talk to you about that website in a few moments as far as how there's some under-the-table things on that. But they've had 3.5 years to get this thing ready. It's been absolutely a mess, a disaster, and many people now have had their insurance plans canceled. Many people now are living day to day without any insurance coverage because they can't get on the computer for Obamacare. And aren't there just multiple lawsuits that could be filed against the government like yours because people's lives have been put on the back burner and they have no coverage?
Absolutely. As long as they can show injury, I would recommend that they file through the Administrative Procedure Act, but they have to show that they have been injured by an authoritative overreach, meaning not just injured, but injured in a way that a government official has done something beyond the boundaries of their legal authority. And then, yes, they can go ahead and do what I did, and they can feel free to reach out to Judicial Watch at judicialwatch.org. By the way, my website is theamerican.net, so for anyone that wants to follow what we're doing, go on theamerican.net. And by the way, if the administration is listening, I've got a great webmaster. I was able to launch my website real cheap. Didn't cost me $634 million. And also for our listeners out there, Tony Towns Whitley, who is the vice president of CGI, is the one that launched their website for $634 million. It was a no-bid contract. She was in the 1985 Princeton graduating class with her friend, Michelle Obama, and CGI donated $47 million to Obama's super PAC. And what a coincidence that they also got a no-bid $634 million contract for a website that has completely collapsed on itself.
Absolutely. Larry, let me just say that yesterday, and maybe you have this message yourself, but yesterday from HHS Blog, I received this note, and I'm just going to read you one line right now and have you respond to it. It says, quote, "We can now process nearly 17,000 account registrants per hour, or 5 per second, with an error rate near zero. My engineer tried just moments ago to get on the website, and it still is down. They're lying about their account registrants. They're lying about their efficiency. They're covering up that this is still, and possibly will be in many more days in the future, a total disaster."
Well, I'm sure you've heard this president say many times, if you like your insurance, you can keep your insurance. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. This is just another item to add to his list of lies. And by the way, he's claiming that he didn't say that. Maybe I heard wrong, even though he said it 100 times. Listen, Clinton said he didn't inhale. Obama's saying he didn't exhale. I don't know who to believe.
What about your lawsuit? What are you looking for? I mean, what are the chances that you have? What are your thoughts about all the time and effort and money you've put into this, Larry? Is this going to be just a wasted effort, or are you optimistic that maybe you can make some inroads here?
Well, not only do I believe that we're going to make some inroads, but we have a team of attorneys, including attorneys that were involved with the Clinton impeachment, that are on my side. We've also had a team of constitutional lawyers that have vetted what I'm doing. They agree that Obama has no right to have done this. One of my lawyers is one of the 3 primary authors of the law. He's a Republican that represented Chuck Grassley, and he says clearly the president has no right to do this. There's nothing in the law that allows it. He knows, because he's one of the 3 people that unfortunately were charged with having to write it. And I could just say that there's nothing in my wildest imagination that would empower this president to do what he has claimed to have done. He believes he is a Congress of one.
The fact that you're getting at right here with the Congress of one, and him superseding the Congress and going against the law, going against the Supreme Court's ruling, everything, do a lot of people just shine this on, Larry, and say, oh, well, this is just Dr. Larry Kawa. He's just going to have a lawsuit because he doesn't like Obamacare. But the general public, they need to be informed and really know what's going on, because this is going to affect the entire United States permanently, with a lack of insurance coverage and a lack of insurance business being available to the rest of the citizens.
Here's my advice to those that like him. Like anything else in life, we make heart decisions and head decisions. If it were a heart decision, as far as who you want to go have a couple of beers with, Obama would seem like a very nice guy. But judge him by his actions, not his words. There's a lot of people out there that are nice guys, or at least seem to be. But, if you make it a head decision and you look at his actions, I would also ask the committee that gave him a Nobel Peace Prize, what did he ever accomplish that you gave it to him for? Look, I am not a hater. I am not a racist. I can say that anything that I'm doing is predicated on law. The Constitution has no party. This is not about whether Obamacare is legal or not. This is about whether Obama's tactics are legal or not. And anyone that would resist that concept is really just making whimsical rather than logical decisions.
As a business owner, Larry, and a businessman, and with this lawsuit, and you're worried about the coverage for your employees, what about looking into a crystal ball for the future? Obamacare could be the ruination of insurance plans and insurance companies. What happens if Obamacare goes down in flames and there's nothing else that people can get coverage through? I mean, I'm looking at a total disaster on that side of the coin.
You bring up a very valid point. By the way, I would encourage our listeners to go on YouTube and Google the words Obama AFL-CIO speech 2003, where he promised that he wanted to have a single-payer system. This is a Trojan horse for a single-payer system. The insurance companies will never survive this barrage of regulations. When it collapses, mark my words, he will say that for the good of the people, we need a public option or a government program. And Blue Cross and Cigna and Aetna could never compete with Uncle Sam's insurance program. And when you have a single payer, you will have one entity telling you how much you can charge as a doctor. Imagine, Zeb, if you owned a restaurant and the government told you what you could charge for burgers. That's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Think of this. You're not allowed to have more than a 20% profit margin if you're an insurance company. If you don't spend a minimum of 80% of your dollars on health care, if you're an insurance company, you need to get a refund to your customers. Sounds great, but did we forget we live in a free country and insurance companies are part of the free market enterprise system?
Absolutely.
And if you owned a restaurant, and if you charge more than a certain amount for burgers, you had to give a refund to the people that bought your burgers. Is that fair? Look, you can't both love creating jobs and hate the job creators. There's only so many bricks you could load in the knapsack of private enterprise before they're going to stop being able to climb the hill of success upon which our shining city called America still burns.
Absolutely. Now, Larry, tell me and tell my listeners, what can we do possibly to show support and help your cause in this suit against Obamacare? Tell us what we can do.
You can, number one, pray for us. Number two, you can go on the American.net and give me your comments. I'm not accepting any money or donations. I'm not here to politicize this or capitalize upon this. But I welcome your comments, your feedback. Go to theamerican.net and at least offer me your ideas. But we do not have a contribute button, so you can feel free to offer me your ideas and your prayers.
God's blessings to you, Dr. Larry Kawa, and I am going to be in touch. I'm going to stay in touch with you and have you back in future programs. The best to you, sir, and please keep us informed as to what's happening.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity, Zeb.
God bless you. Thank you much. Dr. Larry Kawa from Florida in his lawsuit against Obamacare. You know, I hope that man prevails. I really do. I'm very, very upset about what's happening to him and other businesses. He has 53 full-time employees, 11 part-time. His health care costs on a monthly basis are running $20,000 a month. And his health care costs are estimated to increase 40%. 40% more. And the business is impacted by healthcare law, 200,000 plus companies with 50 plus employees. 200,000 companies with more than 50 employees are looking at the same rate of increase that he's having to pay. He's right now, 20,000. It's expected to increase a minimum of 40%. This is absolutely ridiculous, what's happening in this country. And he brought up a very good analogy about the free market system and how also this man, our president, has taken it upon himself to act as a dictator. And after the Supreme Court had passed on Obamacare, change everything, which should have made the entire proposal null and void, and give special gratuity deals to a certain few, that's criminal. That's criminal. It's not right. It's against the law. And now have we got a dictator instead of a president acting over and above Congress? Go to this website for this Dr. Larry Kawa. It's theamerican.net. Theamerican.net, and you can find all about. He's a local business owner, and he said it's going to cost him a lot of time, money, effort, and resources. And he said he filed this lawsuit as an American citizen because he feels it was wrong to do in the light of the fact that the Constitution specifically disallows what Obama is trying to do through Obamacare. I wish him well. I wish him well. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We will have him back on the phone with us in the not-too-distant future. Don't forget the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. They've always got delicious luncheon specials Monday through Friday for just $5.95. Lunch for $5.95, the best deal in town. And they've also got senior citizen dinner specials Monday through Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m., only $5.95. Now today they've got lasagna with garlic toast and super salad. It's going to be great, always is. Food's great, people are nice. The Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. All right, it's time for your calls and comments at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Those kind of stories that we just heard from Dr. Larry Kawa, and the smugness, the arrogance from Kathleen Sebelius, and the same from the president. And you heard him say during the interview that a lot of his people, including Jay Carney, and even the president himself, Obama, are walking back on their story about how many, many times, I've got some of the news clips on my own computer. You do not have to change your plan of insurance. You do not have to cancel your insurance. You can keep your insurance, and you can keep your doctor. He said that numerous times, all the way from 2010 till the present. Now they're walking back on those statements and trying to say that, well, what you think you heard, your lion ears misconstrued. And they're trying to change this, walk back on the language, change everything, and make you feel like you're an idiot because what you heard, why, you were completely wrong. This is what's happening now. They're trying to walk back on this and basically lie again. Gina, if you're right there by your microphone, I don't recall, and I'm much older than you are. Well, not much older, but I'm older. Mm-hmm. I do not recall in my lifetime with the first president, let's see, I was born in 1947, so Truman would have been the first president that I fell underneath, if you will. Mm-hmm. I don't remember ever having as many lies, different stories told, cover-ups, and just basically, I don't know what you call it, fairy tales given to the American public so that they believe these people.
Well, and here's my thing about all of this. You know, we are in the digital age. Everybody is recording something. So all of these videos are posted online, Sir President. And so, yeah, you did say it, and no, we're not making
How do you walk back on that? Let me ask you this. Jay Carney and all these other people, Axelrod, et cetera, are trying to walk back on this and say, well, what you thought you heard was taken out of context, and this is exactly what the president meant. You know, that's telling a person of any average education and intellect that what he heard, he didn't understand. And that to me is shameful, that they would try to lie their way out of this by saying what you think you heard, your lion ears misperceived.
Well, what I know I heard, gee, Mr. President, must have been a lie coming out of your mouth.
I just am appalled at this poor dentist. He's an orthodontist, and with these employees, 53 full-time employees, 11 part-time employees, paying now $20,000 per month, and it's going to be going up an estimated 40%.
My God.
Yeah, my God is right. And you can't blame him for suing the government.
No.
And suing Obama because it's the denigration of free enterprise. I said that earlier this morning, even before I had him on the air.
You did. I don't know what to do about this administration and our elected officials at this point in time. I mean, we can scream, we can yell, we can holler, but it seems like that they're just not listening to the constituents and they're just doing what they want to do, especially the president.
Isn't it interesting, though, that we have put out the plea on this program literally thousands of times for qualified Democrats that want to stand up for their party platform and their party push, which is Obamacare. We've invited them on this program, and evidently they think they're holier than the rest of us because they will not come on this program and debate the benefits and or the negatives of this program on the air. But they would rather stab me in the back and make very hurtful statements to me behind my back instead of having the guts to come on the program and debate me face to face.
Yeah, and I don't understand that. Yeah, I mean, if they honestly, truly believe in their party platform, they can come onto the show, willfully so.
Absolutely.
Arbitrate, in a very professional manner.
Absolutely.
To state your case. We've got a phone call, by the way.
Quick call, then we've got to go back to the main studio. Good morning, you're on the air.
Hi, Zeb. I'd like to follow up on the doctor's statement about our Congress people getting $5,000 a head. So I guess it'd be subsidy for their own health insurance.
Yes.
I could call into one of my representatives, and it might be 6 weeks before I'd get a letter back, and then they would just say, they'd say, well, here's the problems with Obamacare, but they'd never answer my question. That happened the other day.
There's an elitist attitude.
If you would be able to contact some of these people and ask them that question.
I will. As a matter of fact, I'll even go one step further. In the next half hour, we have Idaho Senator Dean Cameron coming on and talking about this. I'll start it there, and then I'll continue it with Crapo and the others next week. I promise.
Good
Thank
deal.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
God bless you.
Caller, quickly. I've only got 30 seconds.
Zeb, you tell me when Obama ever told the truth on a major issue, and I'll take his Burger King and buy you a Whopper.
Looks like I'm not going to get lunch for a while. God bless you. Thanks for your call. Appreciate it. We've got to run back to the main studios right now for about 2 or 3 minutes. I'll be back with Senator Dean Cameron. Don't go away.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Welcome back. Gina, I'm going to change things up a little bit if I can quickly because I don't want to interrupt Senator Cameron a little bit. Can we have the weather forecast quickly? We're going to have it by Lennox Home Comfort Systems, gas furnaces, air conditioners, or heat pumps. Brought to you by our friends at Lennox through Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Here's Michael.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers of MichaelRogersWeather.com. Beauty of our day is a lot of sun, very little clouds. I'm not going to really set it down, so it's going to be cooler today. Temperatures, you might struggle to get to the upper 50s. And the overnight low, that's going to be cold. You're going to be down to freezing, possibly being 1, maybe down to 29 on the backside of a cold front, but we got nothing out of it. This nice weather still continues. Sun's out, cool, nice colors. Enjoy the weather. Tell me what you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Quickly, I'm going to go to the phone lines right now because I have not only a dear friend, but a person that I know is really interested and caring about what's happening with Obamacare and the health exchange for the state of Idaho, and that's Senator Dean Cameron. Good morning, Senator. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Zeb?
Well, I'm not going to pull any punches, and I expect you'll not do the same. Very poignant, very honest, very direct. What about the Idaho Health Exchange? How is it going or not going?
Well, the Idaho Health Exchange is light years ahead of the federal exchange. It's still got its issues, mostly because we in the legislature didn't start it sooner. And so they are still... there's still some mistakes that have been made, and there's still some issues. We had to tie our exchange to the federal exchange for the back end office, if you will, for the confirmation in order for people to get their subsidy, to get their advanced tax credit. We had to tie it to the federal site. Had we had approved it 2 years ago, as Fred Wood and I had recommended, we would not be dealing at all with the federal government. We would be just doing it strictly from a state basis, and we'd be fine.
Can it go to a state basis in the near future and be away from the feds or not?
Yes, we are, and they're working very rapidly to get there. But we will not. That will not happen until probably October of next year. Before that will happen. So here's what the state's done. And there's several features that the state has been able to accomplish by doing a state exchange versus a federal exchange. First, our rate is lower. The federal exchange is charging 3.5% of premium. So if your premium is $100, which nobody's is $100, you'd pay $3.50 additional through the federal exchange. On the state exchange, through Governor Otter, they negotiated it so that we are not paying anything for the use of the federal back-end office, and we are paying 1.5% for the front office, the state website, if you will.
Dean, I just
so
had...
lower cost. Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I heard you stop, and I did not mean to intercede with you. Go ahead and finish your point.
Well, you have to intercede whenever I take a breath. You know that. Under the state exchange, because we can reach out and grab a hold of our state board member or our state executive, we can say, hey, look. And so Fred Wood and I, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, said, look, you've got to put rates on the front page of that exchange. And so what they've done now is you can go to the front page of the exchange, you can click on the rates, you can click on the links to the companies. So if you want to shop, you can shop. Third, we also said you have to put a calculator by which people can determine whether or not they qualify for a tax credit. Because frankly, Zeb, if you're not applying for a tax credit, you don't need to go to the exchange.
That's right.
If you want to just buy health insurance and you want to shop, you can go to your local agent. We have all the rates for 2014. We can plug it in. We have the paper apps if you want to do it completely the traditional way through paper. You can do that. But if you want to find out if you're qualify for a subsidy, now there's a link through the Kaiser Family Foundation, which is an insurance company. It's not tied to the insurance industry. It's not tied to the government. You can plug your information in. It will give you an estimate. Now, it's not final, but it gives you a good estimate as to why you would go through the exchange and get the subsidy. Because we're a state-based exchange, Representative Wood and myself were able to say, hey, look, you've got to put those on the front page, and they've done that so people can shop. And people are shopping, although because we're tied to the federal back office, the enrollment numbers are not quite what they would like them to be.
All right, now I want to discern this point once and for all, that you are, and I want to use this terminology that you use, with the state exchange tied somewhat today with the federal exchange because of the lateness of getting on this program, but you expect that to be terminated and standing on your own through Idaho alone by October of next year.
Yes, that's the goal. That's the plan. That's what we intended all along, is to be on our own, and it was only because we had such a late start that we had to make that connection. Every state, and I hear people call up, and I'm sorry, I've had 2 appointments this morning and did not have a chance to listen in this morning, but I've heard people call up previously on your show and say a few things. There's lots of misinformation, so let me dispel some rumors. First, if you're over 65, you do not need to do anything. You're not impacted by the exchange. You don't have to go to the exchange. There's no reason for you to be involved. There are other parts of the Obamacare Act that are horrific for you, but that's not the exchange part, okay?
Okay.
Second, the advanced tax credit, it's not at when you file your taxes, although that's when it's trued up. It's right immediately. It is a deduction off of your premium immediately. So if you are a family of 4 and you make $40,000 and you get an advance tax credit of $200 a month, it comes right off your premium immediately. A third rumor is the penalty. I've had some people say, well, we're just going to pay the penalty. Remember, the penalty is $95 in the first year, goes up each year, or 1% of your income, $95 or 1% of your income in the first year, goes up the second year, goes up the third year, both the dollar amount and the percentage. If you're that family of four that makes $40,000 a year, that's a fourth. What's 1% of 40,000? Okay, that is higher, and if you qualified for a tax credit, in many cases the tax credit in the premium is cheaper than paying the penalty. So, and it's different for everybody. I've had people say, well, the rates are going to be higher for everybody. In some cases, they are higher. Give you some generalities. A younger person is most likely higher. Someone who is extremely healthy and had a $10,000 deductible, their premium is going to be higher. If you're over 50, your premium is probably going to be lower. If you had a health condition that caused the insurance company to rate you up because of that health condition, you had diabetes, you had, whatever the health condition was, your premium will probably be lower. And so people need to look at their own individual situation carefully. They need to sit down with their agent and walk through it and try and figure out what's best for them.
All right, now let's do this. We're going to give some rapid-fire questions, and we're going to give some rapid-fire answers. We got to get as much information as possible into this program. Number one, I will make a statement, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. If the young people in this country do not sign up for Obamacare, the rest of the bill is going to fall on the middle class, and we've got to make up the difference. It's really silly for young people to buy Obamacare until they need it, because they can still walk in with a pre-existing injury and get it after they've been sick. So why should they spend the money now?
Okay, I thought it was going to be a short question.
Well, it was a little longer than I wanted.
So, yes, the system will fail and be extremely expensive if the young people don't sign up. There is an additional product that young people below 30 can sign up on it's called a catastrophic plan. And its rates are fairly competitive, but they're still more expensive than what they were before.
All right, now, as far as company closures, now this is one I'm going to have a hard time phrasing. You can help me on this. I believe, from what I've studied in Wisconsin, Arkansas, whatever state, that companies, private insurance companies, are really thinking about not only pulling the policies and closing down coverage, but also closing their doors. And with a limited amount of insurance companies available, that will act as a catalyst to make Obama and his Obamacare succeed, right or wrong?
You're absolutely right. You hit on 2 points, though, that I need to distinguish between. Carriers, some people have said, well, this benefits the insurance industry. Let me tell you, it does not. You've been in the cattle business. You understand the cattle business. This is like, I've told Speaker Bedke, this is like the Bedke Ranch had to say that they would buy every cow that showed up at their door, regardless of the health of that cow, regardless of how old it was, and we will promise X price for that cow, regardless of all of those conditions. That's what's happened to the insurance industry. Now, the insurance companies have had a choice in guessing their rates, and guessing is the right word. They had to guess for 2014, not knowing what the other carriers' rates would be, not knowing what the conditions that they would be assuming. Right now, Blue Cross guessed low. They are the cheapest plan in the marketplace right now, Blue Cross and Select Health. Blue Shield guessed a little high. Pacific Source guessed very high. So what happens to them? I'm not sure. Does Pacific Source go out of business because nobody goes and buys Pacific Source? Or does Blue Cross get in trouble because everybody went to Blue Cross and they got all of the bad risk? Now, there's some features to try and level that out, but that's a problem.
Okay.
Second thing that you touched on, I'm sorry this is a longer answer. Some companies have been sending notices to their insured saying your plan doesn't qualify. And in most cases that's true unless people had what were called a grandfathered plan. If their plan doesn't qualify, they can carry it till their plan renews. So if their plan renews in June, they can carry it to June of next year, and then they have to change to a qualified plan. If their plan, however, renews in January, they've got to be making that decision here pretty quickly. You have to apply 15 days prior to the effective date of your plan. So if you want a January 1st effective date, you have to have your decisions, the applications, and if you want subsidy, that all has to be submitted to D.C. by December 15th.
All right, now I'm going to give you a quick statement and a question. I just had Dr. Larry Kawa from Florida on my program. He is suing the government over Obamacare, and he has everything laid out from A to Z in perfect fashion. The point is, and he brought it up, I've asked this question on my program for months. If the Supreme Court passed on Obamacare and said that it is quote-unquote legal, why then was it not illegal or made the Obamacare null and void that after the Supreme Court had passed on it, Obama made special deals, special cuts, and changed the program? Why hasn't Obamacare been taken back to the Supreme Court and they have said it's null and void because you, Mr. President, went around Congress and acted as a dictator?
Well, Zeb, I think you make a valid point, but it requires someone to sue them and take them back to the Supreme Court. And obviously, there are a few other suits. Oklahoma has a suit that's advancing, although, again, I don't think it throws the entire act out. They're arguing, Oklahoma's arguing, that since they did not choose a state exchange, that their citizens should not get the tax credit. Now, that's kind of an odd argument because I'm surprised that they're not wanting to have their citizens have the tax credit, but that's their choice. They're suing that, but even if they win, I don't think that overturns the Affordable Care Act or the Obamacare. It requires somebody to take it to the Supreme Court. I don't believe for a moment the Supreme Court ruled correctly. You know, I've said it many times on your program, I'm opposed to the Affordable Care Act. I think it's going to be devastating. I don't think it's affordable at all. I think it's costing more people more money in general terms. And I think it's going to be devastating to the industry, particularly in the long term. Nonetheless, I know that there are some people out there that will say, well, why did Idaho do the exchange? We have no choice. You either do a state-based exchange or you do a federal exchange. And let me tell you, the states that chose to go the federal route or chose not to do a state-based exchange, you know what the federal government did? They went in and appointed Planned Parenthood to be their navigator. I don't think we want Planned Parenthood to be everybody's insurance agent. I don't think that's what people that didn't want the state exchange are saying. Unfortunately, every state, you cannot point to a state that does not have an exchange. They either have a state exchange, a federal exchange, or a combination.
Dean, I'm getting calls and letters in all the time from the last couple of weeks, and especially in the last few hours, of people that are absolutely in tears. Their family future, their goals for their family are all thrown up in the air. People that have had coverage now have no coverage. They are trying to get on Obamacare's website. They can't get any coverage. They have questions about what happens if all of a sudden I fall down an elevator shaft today or my son gets hurt, whatever. They have no coverage. What about these people? What are they going to do? And is the coverage going to be retroactive? If they've been trying to get on Obamacare, they have nothing right now this morning.
First of all, it will not be retroactive. But they ought not just be relying on the website. Go to their local agent. I can fill out, if somebody walks through the door today, I can fill out an application and submit it, and they will have coverage effective for January 1st, which is when the Obamacare coverage takes into place. You do not have to go to the website to buy your coverage. Go to your local agent. They have the rates. They can tell you what the cost is based on your age, based on where you live, and based on whether you smoke. There's no difference between male and females, and there's no difference on health conditions. So a person with diabetes is the same rate as someone who's perfectly healthy at that same age living in Burley, Idaho.
Dean, quickly, I want to kind of jump here a little bit back to the actual inception of Obamacare on the computers. Why? They had 3.5 years. Why couldn't they have tested this? I mean, I got a letter yesterday on my email that says, quote, Mr. Bell, we can now process nearly 17,000 account registrants per hour, or 5 per second, with an error rate near zero. That's a lie, Dean. Gina tried to get on this morning and it's still shut down.
Sure. And it's still shut down, and there are times we've had a few people that have made it all the way through, so it's just a matter of how many people are trying at one time. It is a lie, and it was designed very poorly, and you're absolutely right. They've had 3 years to work on it. They should have had it up and running. They're using old technology, actually, and since when? Name one product that you go in and give all your personal information, your age, your Social Security number, your tax information up front, and then shop second. That's not the way it should work.
Absolutely not.
They've got it backwards to begin with.
Let me ask you.
It takes some time for them, but that does not stop people from being able to enroll.
Let me ask you. Let me jump in here quickly, Dean. I've only got about 4 minutes left, and I want to answer this question because it's really burning in a lot of people's minds. Obamacare gave gratuities to a lot of people. What about our sister and brother congressmen and senators on the Potomac that represent the states nationally? Are they getting a subsidization program that benefits them over and above their constituents?
I don't know that I can answer that question, Zeb. I don't believe that they are. Of course, you remember that was a hotly debated topic. The original bill from Obama excluded Congress. Congress pushed that they be included. The president's excluded. I don't think that's appropriate. But the subsidies that are available are based on income. I don't believe that those individuals would qualify. And certainly it's based on income and the size of your family.
All right.
So a family of 2 has a different subsidy than a family of 6 or 4.
All right, now let me ask you this question, then we'll wrap things up. As you look at this debacle with the computers, the internet, and not knowing what the left hand is doing, and the testifying of Sebelius, and this absolute mess, as it stands today, can it be fixed? Can it be repaired? Can it be band-aided together? Or do they have to stop this whole thing and say to the American public, whoa, we've got to start over and we'll do it a year from now?
You know, I don't know the answer to that question either, Zeb, to be honest with you. I don't know whether it can be fixed. The state exchange is working and will work for enrolling people once we get the back end fixed, either on our own or going through the federal site. But you can still get the rates, you can still get the products. So they may back off the requirement, the deadlines, because if you don't have coverage right now, you have to apply by March 31st or you can't get in. And so they may back off those deadlines, but I doubt they're going to back off the requirement that you buy coverage. I doubt they're going to back off the ability for you to apply on paper. And what's more egregious is they've changed the benefit structure. That's where the rates are getting hit the hardest, is they've changed the benefit structure so that you are buying, your choices are somewhat limited. Now, we have 60 plans that you can buy from, and so somebody might say, well, that's a lot of choices, but every one of those plans are capped at $6,350 of expenditures. It's just rearranging how each of those plans offer the benefits. They all offer the same benefits.
Dean, I want to say how much I appreciate you, spur of the moment, coming on the program and everything, but please know I'm going to be following this very, very closely over the next couple of days, and if you're in your office next week, have a follow-up. There's questions I didn't even have time to ask. If you would do so, I'd certainly appreciate it next week.
I'd love to do it, and I'm around, and we'll just figure out a time and do it. And people can call, please, I don't have to be your agent. Call me. I'm happy to answer anybody's question. I'm happy to help them any way they can. Gina, call me. Don't keep beating your head against the wall.
I am going to call you. I will.
Senator Dean Cameron, God bless you, man. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget our great sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best in a great big tire sale going on right now. Whether you need car tires like the Ultra Z900 passenger car tire or the light truck and SUV tire, the Wildcat AT2, they're all on sale. And, of course, that means that they're having the best in prices on shocks and struts and front end alignments and brake service. Absolutely the best in brake service. Batteries, it's all there for you at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, with Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Lane and Rupert, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, none better, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Whew, busy day and a good day.
Holy cow, yes, it was a good day.
I'm sweating. I really am.
You know what? And I'm really glad that we did have a chance to talk with Senator Dean Cameron, because I've had a lot of questions about this. And when I went on to the Your Health Idaho website, and you look at local providers, or what they call local connectors, he is not listed as one of them. So I'm glad that he can be a local connector, because I'm going to be giving him a call after the show.
Absolutely. Gina, thank you for everything you did, coordinating everything this morning. Excellent program, great guests. Tomorrow, Halloween.
Ooh,
oh, yeah. As if Obamacare wasn't scary enough, now we got Halloween tomorrow. Holy cow, look out. We'll saddle the horse at 8:06 and ride for 3 hours right here on Zev at the Ranch, K-Bar Radio, and streaming live on the net, ZevBell.com, all over the world. Have a good day, and remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless. Take care.